February 10th, 2026. Just a reminder that this is a committee of the whole meeting and no decisions will be made here today. There will only be recommendations that will go to our next regular council meeting on Tuesday, February 24th, 2026 for consideration. A couple of reminders for today's meeting. Members of the media may sit in the upper balcony at the reserved media table. All other guests, please take a seat in the first floor gallery. If that is full, there is overflow seating on the second floor in the Victoria Room where you will be able to see and hear the meeting. We live stream the meeting on YouTube channel and the recording is available after the meeting. This meeting is also broadcast live on your TV, Cogeco Subscribers Channel 10, HD Channel 700, and rebroadcasted on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and on Saturday at noon. Because meetings are accessible to the public in all these ways, video or audio recording by members of the public is not permitted in council chambers. This is to ensure that all attendees and those who come to make a deputation feel at ease. Thank you for your cooperation. Look for a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Richardson, Councillor Warren. Any comments, questions? All in favor? And that's passed. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest on anything on today's agenda? Seeing none, should any... Oh, Councillor Perry.
Thank you. Just out of an abundance of transparency, Mayor, item 5.1, the request for support from the Women's Changemakers theme event. I am a donor to that event in my personal capacity.
Are you declaring an interest or leaving when that comes up, or?
I think, disclosing that and not voting
okay.
I would think is sufficient.
Yeah, that's fine, thanks. We have a new item on the agenda. Because Committee of the Whole happens early in the month and our actual council meetings are later in the month, we sometimes are late with announcements about what's going on in the month. So there is a placeholder for announcements, but they have to be of significance, like, as I said to the senior management team, if it's National Wash Your Socks Month, we need to know early in the month and not at the end of the month that that's going on. So as far as today is concerned, I'll make an announcement that this is Black History Month, and it's a time to reflect on and promote the history and contribution of Black Canadians. The theme for this year is honoring Black brilliance across generations, from nation builders to tomorrow's visionaries. After 3 decades of marking Black History Month in Canada, it remains an important time to acknowledge the vital role of Black communities in helping to shape our cultural, social, and economic landscape. It also opens the door to conversations around diversity and inclusion and is an opportunity to ask thoughtful questions, support our fellow Canadians, and celebrate their successes and achievements. There will be a family-friendly community celebration event on February 21st at Celebrations to mark the occasion and provide educational activities and informational sessions. I hope to see you there. Just one other thing of note, of course, the Olympics are going on, and I've been told I have to wrap up this meeting by 2 o'clock so that everybody can go and watch Canada-US women's hockey. I'm afraid that probably won't happen. I'm also wearing my pink tie today to encourage spring, so along those lines. Moving on to item 5, deputations. The first deputation, 5.1, is a request for support for the Women Changemakers STEAM event, and we have Ms. Marlene Morrison-Nichols and Ms. Vanessa Dochette-Roche. Ladies, you have 5 minutes.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? Hi, Sarah. Most of you know me. I'm Marlene Morrison-Nichols, and I have Vanessa with me, a very talented person in the area of STEM and STEAM education. She is the Senior Director of Program Delivery with Ampere, formerly Pinquet, in our community. We are here today on behalf of the Women's Changemaker Fund with a dedicated committee of community leaders to share details of an exciting and vital event in our city and to formally request support from Council. We are very proud to introduce the inaugural Women's Changemaker in STEM event, Kawartha Lakes, that is scheduled for March the 25th. It's hosted at Ampere's Makerspace at 13 Peel Street, which is just the most incredible space you could ever walk into. It was new to me when I started planning this project, and it's just the most vibrant area that you could have an exchange of ideas in. They will be providing an exciting program and interactive stations for young women and others to enjoy that day. The mission of this day is simple but powerful. Bring together 85 to 100 high school age girls, grades 10 to 12, and non-binary people as well, from across our secondary schools to explore the pathways of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We believe that you can't be what you can't see. And this experiential day will connect young women with accomplished females and entrepreneurs from our community who are thriving in the fields of STEAM. This is a true community collaboration with strong partnerships already established with the Trillium Lakelands District School Board, the Catholic School Board, Launch Kawartha, the Kawartha Community Foundation, and many, many others. We look forward to presenting a brief overview of the day and outlining the financial and in-kind support we're seeking from the City of Kawartha Lakes to ensure this event becomes an impactful annual fixture in our community. Thanks for your time today. And over to
Yeah, as Marlene said, we're hosting this wonderful event at our space, but it is in collaboration with a number of community leaders, which we're really, really excited about. But we believe this event is really important because we know that in adolescence, that's when a girl's interest in STEM drops. It peaks at 11 years old and it drops by the time they're 15. For many girls by 12, that's when they start to lose interest in science and math. We know across STEM fields, only 25% of those positions are filled by women. And we believe that we can be a huge part in changing that, and that the City of Kawartha Lakes can be a leader in this area. So we know from our own personal experience that learners are looking for safe and connected spaces where they can be leaders and be seen as leaders, but also learn through mentorship from other leaders in the community, and that's what we're hoping to bring with this event. The day will be a hands-on skill-building workshop, as well as a series of panelists from our community and across Ontario that will come together to support these women in seeing themselves as leaders in STEM. This event is designed to create meaningful and measurable impact, and we think it really ties into a number of the key strategic priorities for this city around youth wellness, vibrant and resilient communities, as well as sustainability within this town. Yes.
So the panelists that we're bringing in, we did do a little slide presentation and made that available to you to give you a list of our community partners. Our committee is pretty amazing, and we have a lot of them here today. Very hardworking entrepreneurs themselves in this community, and our community partners have stepped right up. It's been quite an amazing time to bring this together. Our panelists are very accomplished people, and we provided a list of those in the materials that we've given you. But if you have any questions at all that you would like to ask us, we're here to answer whatever we can. And we really hope that the city, I know the budget's tight this year, I realize that, but we really hope that you can help us. My Women's Changemaker Fund through the Community Foundation will be providing a lot of the support for this event. We are very fortunate to have one of our councillors step up personally with his fund to support our event. And we have a couple of our community partners, whether they're giving in kind or financial donations. And so we just hope that you can find a little bit to provide to us to help us make this a great day for the girls and the other participants that are there that day.
Knows.
Yes.
So, Councillor Richardson.
Thank
Oh, first, do you want to give me a motion to receive the deputation and forward it to council? Councillor Richardson, Councillor Doble. All in favor? Oh, okay. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to thank all of you for bringing this tremendous opportunity to our youth, to the city of Kawartha Lakes. I think it's going to be a real benchmark opportunity to be able to show that collaboration, that mentorship, that community leadership, and it's really going to reflect how these young people get an opportunity to envision themselves perhaps in the future. Just a couple quick questions. What is your financial ask today?
Well, whatever the city can provide. Obviously, we would hope for something in the area of $5,000, but I recognize that the budget is under a lot of scrutiny right now and a lot of strain. So anything that the city can provide, we would be most grateful for.
Thank you. Yep, we certainly do understand the pressures right now. Maybe another quick one is, what support or partnerships do you believe would help expand opportunities like this to young women across the city of Kawartha Lakes? This is just being a stepping stone.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. As Marlene has said, we do have a strong committee of folks across the Kawartha Lakes from the economic development with the city, but also small businesses and locally run organizations and nonprofits. And if we can continue to build this network of mentorships, that will be really critical to the girls. I think this, we know exposure to STEM and STEAM, even one event can increase someone's interest in participating by 100%. And so, by 2 times. If we can find other opportunities for them to continue beyond this day, we're just going to have a deeper impact. And so finding more organizations, more businesses that want to show up, be mentors, support these women in a networking opportunity, that would be really critical. I think one of the things what we're also hoping for from this fund, as Marlene said, is that this becomes a sustainable initiative. It's not just a one and done. So it would happen ideally year over year. And also, we're hoping to find smaller opportunities through the year to bring these girls together, as well as provide new women opportunities to connect this way.
Wonderful, and it's, like I said, very, very happy to hear this type of engagement happening in the city of Kawartha Lakes. I can see all the lights lit up, so I'll let other councillors have opportunity.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Councillor Doble.
I'm just reading from the material here. It says, by investing in women's education and entrepreneurial leadership, a community can truly rise up. That's a great statement. And first of all, congratulations and thank you for coming up with this. Events like this are so important, and frankly, they can be foundational for young people. 2 questions that I have, and I think Vanessa may have touched on it. This is more than a one-off. If this is successful, this would be an ongoing thing. And I just wonder, you just touched on it, but just for the benefit of everybody here, could you maybe speak about some of the local support that you have already received in order to get this off the ground?
Sure. Every single person that I speak to wants to be involved in some way. It's just figuring out how that is. So we have Bulldog Apparels, Chris Reynolds at Bulldog Apparels, that's very going to help us with some of the take-home things. We want the girls to take something away that reminds them of the day, but that's also something useful, made in Canada, hopefully locally sourced. So he's going to help us with that. We have many participants as well, other community, I don't have a list of them in front of me, sorry. That are just, everybody just is stepping right up. They are very happy to be part of it, and we're happy to have them. But as Vanessa indicated, each time we talk to someone and go out and talk about this event, more people step up and say, well, what can I do? What can I do to help? So we had to cut down the number of panelists. We have that many successful women entrepreneurs in the area of STEM and STEAM. We were like trying to go through the list and say, okay, well, this will be for next year, you know. So, and as Vanessa said too, I think it's really important to bring them back again in different ways too. So this can be a sustainable event, but if we can bring them together for other events, we will too. So.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. Thank you, Marlene and Vanessa, for coming today for your presentation. I got a question. Are there any other programs like this in the city of Kawartha Lakes?
No, there's not. There has been initiatives in Peterborough. I know that Rhonda Barnett has been involved in, and Linda Skilton, she was a previous dean at, she was a previous dean at Fleming. They run one in Peterborough, but it's not accessible for the girls here. So we didn't know that was even happening, though, to be honest, until we initiated this event. And so there isn't many opportunities for girls to get outside the classroom, because it's one thing to be in a classroom sitting in rows and hearing about science or math or whatever, but it's quite another when you get into this makerspace that they have where they're interacting with people. And the panelists will stay. We have 25 mentors coming in that day that will work at various stations that the girls are working at. We have Amy Terrell coming from the BCG Club. She's going to maybe do a bit of a podcast with the girls and talk about writing, as well as her whole background in communications has been pretty incredible. So we have Jen Ellis coming from Baker Tilly for the math component. We have Dr. Sarah Madavi coming from University of Toronto, who is a Harvard researcher and has an entire group of postdoc researchers that she's bringing 3 or 4 of those women to work with the girls that day too. So it's going to be a very interactive, not sitting still very much. And I think it just gives girls an opportunity to experience STEM or STEAM in a very different way.
If I can just add, to add to that, because we run teen programming at Ampere, but it is a predominantly male or male identified program right now. We have a lot of girls that come through up until about 12, and then we see a really steep drop off. And so part of our motivation in joining in this event and participating with these community partners is we want to remind girls that they are welcome in the STEM and STEAM space, no matter what age they are. And so by calling the day specifically for them and making it very inclusive to those folks, to girls, non-binary, and trans youth, it's that much more welcoming, and they ideally will see themselves more handily in that space, and then we'll show up more consistently beyond that.
Just one other question. How did this start? How did this come to where it is today?
Well, Women's Changemaker Fund came out of, my daughter came back after 10 years of education, came back to Lindsay to set up her own chiropractic clinic. And she used to phone me once in a while and say, you know, have you got a minute? And it was never a minute. There was always big questions to answer. And so from that, we decided, you know, creating some type of mentoring for women would be either in an entrepreneurial startup or expansion of their business would be really great. And so we started Women's Changemaker Fund with that in mind. An organization called Enterprising Women approached me to do the STEM Day. They are an international organization, won their award in 2021, and so sit on their advisory council. And they are really promoting the concept of STEM education. The issue was, when we went to Trillium Lakelands, was, you know, is this really Ontario curriculum content? Because a lot of what they're doing comes from the States. And so Amy Terrell connected me with Ampere, and we just decided we would go on our own and do a very, very local focus. We have an agricultural component in our panelists that I met at a Women Give Back event at Launch Kawartha. And Angie is coming. She goes to dairy farms and tests the quality of milk and all different things. Rebecca could probably tell you more about what she does. But I chatted with her at the Women's Give Back and thought, oh my gosh, this would be amazing to add this to the panelists. So we're not just doing the sort of traditional, what you might think in the way of science, technology, engineering, math, and the arts, but we're adding in things that are meaningful to our local area to encourage women to go into agriculture too. It's a great industry to be in. So,
Thank you for that, and good luck.
okay.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Thank you, through you. What a great idea. I mean, Ampere has been doing STEAM and STEM for a while now. Ever since they've come to Kawartha Lakes, great things have happened. So with Vanessa and Marlene behind this, it's going to be a huge success. I just know. Just a question. Going forward after this event, and maybe this is for Vanessa, you talked about that the STEAM program is mostly for boys. Do you see this opening up at Ampere for girls after this event going forward?
Yeah, I love that. So our events are not mostly for boys. They just have mostly boys turning out.
Okay.
And so, yes, the goal or the hope is that by making this a really inclusive day and hopefully inviting girls who maybe haven't been to the Makerspace in a while, or there will be many, many new girls that join us, they'll get to see themselves there, get to understand the space a little bit better, and therefore will feel more comfortable joining events in the future. I know we go back and forth on the STEM and STEAM, and I just maybe want to address it for a moment. So we use the acronym STEAM. It keeps arts in there. It's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we do that for a few reasons. One is because in many communities, especially Indigenous communities, which we work alongside, the arts is really critical to everything we do, and it keeps the humanities sort of across those other fields, science, technology, engineering, and maths. And we also know for girls in particular, they are much more invested and interested in coming to an experience when they know there's like a community element to it. So I've run tech education programming for over a decade, and I used to run an experience that was like, learn how to build a website. Mostly boys would come. Build a website to help your community, all girls. And so keeping arts, keeping the humanities at the center of these other disciplines invites women in and allows them to like apply, their brilliance and their leadership into those spaces where otherwise they may feel excluded. Also, hi, Pat.
I also think the Boys and Girls Club being part of this, it's just a natural fit also. So I really look forward to seeing this come forward. Thank you very much for all your work.
Thanks, Pat. Amy has an incredible resource for us when we're putting this day together, for sure.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, great idea, great event. I think it's super exciting. A lot of councillors already asked some of my questions, but I'm curious, well, two things. One is, in terms of the money ask, if you can provide a budget where it's going, that will help a lot. Need to see where that's going. And the logistics, you have the school boards are on board?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was our first call.
Yeah,
we had to
yeah.
make sure that they sanctioned the event.
Yeah.
So that we have Fenelon Falls, LCBI, IU Weldon, and St. Thomas Aquinas. And they're all
Fantastic.
very excited about it.
Yeah. And like, are you busing them in or? That?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have to
So
pay for
there's
that.
a big
That's
cost
part of-
right there.
That's part
Yeah.
of the cost of the day.
Yep, okay. That's all.
Plus, they have to have teachers with them.
So we need to cover the supply
So
teacher
you have
budget.
we have to cover the supply teachers too for, there's 25 people coming from the public schools and hopefully 10 or 15 from St. Thomas Aquinas, but they all have to have teachers with them. So they can't travel on their own.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The way this is going to work, because this is committee of the whole, it will be recommended to the council meeting on the 24th. At that meeting, I'm sure someone will extract it and refer it to staff for an action, and you will hear subsequently after the 24th meeting. So,
We'd also
we've-
like to invite you to come that day to bring greetings if someone would like to come and do that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
We have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's done. Moving on to deputation 5.2 is a request for fence encroachment. Derek Roche. Mr. Roche, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. It's going to be a hard act to follow. Vanessa is my daughter. Coincidentally, we're very proud of her. Let me start my may I ask, before we begin, how many of you have actually seen the house and the fence in question? Yes, no? Okay, so majority. My wife Andrea and I moved here a little over a year ago, and we came to be closer to my daughter Vanessa and her family and our new grandchild. And we had a vision, a dream to create this home that was full of, you know, beauty and flowers and vegetables, and we planted fruit trees. And so we had part of the vision was also a picket fence, which of course immediately got canceled because of the visibility. We're on a corner and we didn't want, you know, little children running out from behind it or anything. So we've built a fence based on many of the farm fences in the area that's only 2 boards and you can see easily through it, and it's the visibility is not an issue. When we arrived, the house was a somewhat dilapidated rental, and I think the whole neighborhood was cheering this family arriving and cleaning it all up. And we took down this enormous hedge, which was about 4 feet thick and about 8 feet tall, and that was causing all kinds of problems with visibility and whatnot. So the point being that it was a huge improvement for us to take down the hedge and dig all the roots out, and then and it, by the way, did encroach on the sidewalk. It must be very difficult for people removing snow. But this fence now is a foot back, and we've had a long snowy winter, and there's been no problem whatsoever with snow removal. So that's not an issue. I know it was a concern of a number of people. I just wanted to say that my wife Andrea and I, if it were a problem for anybody, visibility or any other issue, we would take it down immediately. And when bylaw came and asked us to move it, we thought, you know, at great expense, we'll do it because this bylaw is asking us to. We looked into moving it back 5 feet, and it would have been right on top of a gas pipeline. And so the people drilling just said, nope, we're not going anywhere near that. We can't drill within 3 feet of a pipeline. And so for safety reasons, it is where it is, and it can't be anywhere else. The alternative is to move it 10 feet in, right on top of our vegetable garden and everything else, which would be somewhat absurd. So we have a lovely, well-built fence in a place that's not bothering the snow removal, nor does it impede any traffic. So, I guess I want to take just a minute to suggest that the council consider the bigger picture and things like this. We're new to Lindsay, and we love the town. We love being near our grandchild and our daughter. But something like this will sort of dampen our enjoyment of the place. If we spend $12,000 on a fence and someone says, no, you can't have that, let's take that down. For as far as we're concerned, no apparent reason. And I think it's important to recognize case by case who we are and what we're doing here. We're environmentally friendly. We're growing a vegetable garden. We're sharing with the neighbors. The next door neighbor wrote a letter in support of us without us even asking, because we've made so many wonderful improvements to the place, including this fence. So I would ask you to consider that we're, you know, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens who our neighbors like, and we're getting along well with everybody, and that the fence is for 90% of the people we've spoken to a beautiful thing and acceptable and welcome. I don't know who or why there was a complaint, but I'd like to answer any of your concerns regarding the fence. And at 4 minutes, I'll take that because we get to see the Olympics.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to receive the deputation? Councillor Doble, Councillor McDonald. Questions, Councillor Doble.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roche, for coming today. And just, I'm sure the rest of us know that the photo of the fence is part of the materials. And I have been out to visit the property, and I drive through that area quite frequently. It's not far from where I live. And you talked about the hedge. There was prior to this. There was, and how large was that hedge again?
Some 7 feet high and roughly 4 feet wide. So it had grown enormously into my next door neighbor's property and onto the sidewalk. So it was it hadn't been taken care of or trimmed in years.
And if you were driving east on Wellington Street and come to the stop sign at Sussex Street, that hedge really did provide a barrier to the sight line.
It did initially, but just before we arrived and purchased the house, the city ordered it cut down the corner. So
really?
the hedge was, most of the way around the property, but that little corner was cut off. So
you also mentioned snow removal. Does that include both the street snow plowing as well as the sidewalk?
indeed it does.
Okay.
Yeah. The sidewalk clearing has been fantastic. I'm cheering on these people, and we support them wholly. And if we felt we were impeding their progress in any way at all, we would take the fence down. But as the pictures show, there's no problem clearing the sidewalk and having a fence a foot away from it.
No, and having driven it myself regularly, I can't help but note that it is certainly an improvement upon what was there in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. Thanks, Derek, for coming today. Just got a question. How many feet are you off your property line where the fence is? Do you know?
On certain sections, none at all, because we're on the property line, but the sidewalk in question, we're probably 2, maybe 3 feet. I'm not exactly sure, but the survey looks like about 2 or 3 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Perry, do you have something? You're good. Okay. Again, this will be referred to the council meeting of the 24th, at which time it will be dealt with and referred to staff in all probability, and we'll move on from there, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the time.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
We have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. Our next deputation is online, and it's snowmobile maintenance and use agreement. It's Ms. Kimberly Perry. Ms. Perry, you have 5 minutes.
There, my audio.
Yeah, you're on. You're echoing though. You want to try again? You're muted. If I can suggest maybe logging off and logging back in again, because we're getting some feedback and echoing, and you're not really coming through properly. So do you want to log off and log back in, and we'll wait for you? Zoe and Sam will go on to the next deputation and see if she can log back in, okay? So moving on, we'll do item 5.4, which is the introduction of the Together for Justice program. Ms. Carissa Ferguson and Mr. Mike Puffer from the Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes. Ladies and gentlemen, you have 5 minutes.
Hello. Hi there. Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Carissa Ferguson, and I am the Operations and Engagement Manager for the Kawartha Community Foundation. I have here with me today Mike Puffer, a board member. Nobody knows you at all. So I just want to take the opportunity today to talk about an important initiative going on in our community. It's called the Together for Justice initiative. And this initiative was directly sparked by the City of Kawartha Lakes' recent investment in the Social Sustainability Fund that we launched in 2025 for its first year of intake. The Social Sustainability Fund this year had 17 applications come in, $130,000 in requests for funding for non-for-profit groups in our community that focus on complex social issues of homelessness, poverty, nutrition, training for people in our community, and so on and so forth. During the intake, we had 8 committee members from the social services industry come together and rank our applications. One of these applications that came in particular was from the Kawartha Halliburton Victim Services, and it unfortunately didn't end up getting funding, but it was a very strong application that we wanted to see get funded. So being part of the Foundations of Canada, an opportunity came across our desk to apply for a rural justice grant funding program that I applied to, thinking of the Kawartha Halliburton Victim Services application in particular to get it funded. And we were successful in getting that funding from the Law Society of Ontario and the Community Foundations of Canada. So through that, we were able to secure $180,000 for our community. We funded 6 organizations in our community, each receiving $30,000 approximately, to do things including a place called Home is running a rural justice legal support services, helping vulnerable individuals get to court dates and lawyers. Another funded organization is the Community Care, is focusing on running seniors and elder abuse workshops and prevention. Another is the Boys and Girls Club, the youth diversion program that focuses on petty crimes with youth and keeping it out of the court system and absolving it in a more positive opportunity. Another organization was the John Howard Society, and they are providing technology access to individuals that wouldn't have access to internet or laptops, as well as a space to carry out those activities. Another organization is the Kawartha Halliburton Victim Services, who started it all for me, are going to do rural pop-ups, offering justice education in remote rural communities surrounding the Lindsay area to spread the word. And the last one is a collaboration between the Kawartha Halliburton Immigrant Settlement Services and the New Canadian Centers to host newcomer legal education workshops in terms of employments and tenant rights, and important legal manners that they should know when they first come here. So I just want to say thank you for your seed funding for the Social Sustainability Fund. It has really helped our organization as well as led us to help even more non-for-profits in our community. And yeah, thank you. And I'll let Mike say some words here.
Well, good afternoon. I just wanted to compliment Carissa's report. It's an example of the work that the Community Foundation is doing and can do in this community. I think the notion of a community foundation is still rather new to the city of Kawartha Lakes, although they're established in many other municipalities. Some of the words that we love to use, and you heard in Carissa's report: investment, partnerships, working together. And your seed funding from the city has led to us accessing that $180,000 that we can reinvest in the community through those programs. So in a little while, you'll hear a little bit more about another project of the foundation, and I won't steal anyone's thunder, but couldn't be more pleased with this acceptance of what the Community Foundation is and can be, encouraging people to invest in the services and the programs right here in their own community. So thank you again, and I don't know if there's any questions.
Just if you'd stay there for a few minutes and we'll see. First, can I get a motion to receive? Councillor Perry, Councillor Joyce. Questions? Councillor Richards.
Thank you, and through great presentation.
Deputy Mayor Richards.
That's okay. I figured you'd get it right sooner or later. Thanks very much again for coming today, and this is incredible news for our community. I've certainly learned a lot in the background about where you were going and where you wanted to be. I'm just wondering, with that 180,000, are you looking for concurrent programming for the future as well to keep this program rolling?
That's part of Carissa's job.
So currently, it's a pilot program that is completely funded by the Law Society of Ontario, as well as the Community Foundation of Canada. I believe the intent of us being a part of this funding pilot program is that they will launch a full-fledged grant program, and that's where additional funding would come from, or you could take advantage of.
Thank you. Your deputation will be referred to council and received at that time. We have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. Is Ms. Perry back online? Okay. We'll try and do that. Councillor Yeo?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Ms. Perry can't get connected. I don't know.
I think she is back online. Yeah, she's there.
Oh, okay.
And we'll see if...
I can speak to her as well.
Yeah, we'll see if the feed is any better. Go ahead, Ms. Perry. You have 5 minutes.
Thanks so much, and accept my apologies. I hope I didn't delay anybody's Olympic watching time. So this winter has been incredible. The deep snow, consistent cold, the kind of winter we all have been waiting for. We're hearing it everywhere. Business talking about how busy they've been, how their winter finally showed up, and it's made a world of difference for winter tourism, and in turn, money is flowing. And then I look out my window here in Ward 1 in Norland, Seabright, Kirkfield, and partly Cobeconk, and it's painfully obvious that we have not benefited from this in the same way. We haven't seen sleds moving through here consistently since 23. And to be clear, parts of Cobeconk do see some traffic because they border on Kawartha Lake Snowmobile Club. And that shows what's possible when connectivity exists. But much of Ward 1, particularly along the historic 104 corridor, remains disconnected. This is one of the best winters in years, and large parts of our community are on the outside of it. Snowfall is the one thing that none of us can control, but trail access is not. It's something that we can control. And now council holds agency to decide whether what remains of this season is written off or whether trails in Ward 1 are restored. and allowed to function again. Each week that passes is a lost opportunity, not just for riders, but for small rural businesses that depend on winter traffic. So reopening the trails quickly matters a lot, but how they're opened and who's accountable for them going forward matters just as much. To be clear, I do support reopening the trails immediately, and I support provincial safety standards, insurance, and coordination. I'm not opposing the district model. Districts play an important role in insurance, standards, and network coordination. What I am concerned about is a district-only model in the absence of a local club. This municipality works with local ONCA-registered clubs that are accountable to the city, even while operating under provincial standards. That local layer is important to the people who live here in Ward 1 and elsewhere. Recent reports from Council indicate from January 25 that there's a shift towards the district level agreements, driven in part by insurance and operational considerations. That might address certain risks to enter contract directly with the districts of the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs, but without a local accountability or stewardship body, it concentrates control, removes local accountability, and limits future options for Kawartha residents, business owners, and taxpayers. And once municipal land is governed in this way, it's going to be very difficult to reverse it. Not for the city, but certainly for the structures that exist within the larger club and the trail access across the province. So in Muskoka, I want to turn your attention to what's going on there in Muskoka. The municipality works with the districts for insurance, but they have maintained local club responsibility through a memorandum of understanding where they've pretty much prioritized their local people in being able to steward access there. So the insurance requirements are met, trails are open, and we have boots on the ground in Muskoka, allowing the residents to be in charge of what's going on with respect to the land that they pay taxes for. And in Council's own strategic plan, it does speak to strengthening local economy, supporting rural communities, collaboration, and good government. And I believe that local stewardship aligns directly with those priorities. It does keep economic benefits local, and it sustains volunteer engagement, another priority I've heard Council speak about before. And if there are concerns from the Council around capacity here, I want to assure you that families and individuals have stepped up. We have a growing list of 20 families in this area who are prepared to steward the land if a path exists for us. So it's already recognized how important opening the trails are, and I urge Council to try to expedite this opening for this year so we don't go another year without that business flowing through here. But what I'm asking for in this case is that when Council does go ahead and sign land use agreements for opening of trails, that they ensure that they're not that they're including a pathway for local stewardship within those agreements. So if we are agreeing to pass on our stewardship to the Orillia District Club, we are basically shutting out our local folks who want to be helping steward the land here. As Council moves to expedite trail reopening for the remainder of this season, will it also ensure that local stewardship remains part of the long-term approach? Thank you.
Thank you. I get a motion to receive. Councillor Yeo and Councillor Deputy Mayor Richardson. And questions, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, and through you. Thanks, Ms. Perry, for coming. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it completely. So you currently have a local stewardship group that wants to provide the trail maintenance in that section. Have you spoken with the OFSC district about being that stewardship for that particular portion? So they recognize you as someone that wants to move forward doing it?
So we have officially sent requests through the OFSC for being able to start a club, and unfortunately, we haven't received back any clear pathway to starting a club. So the process for that to happen, and so we've been asking for a bit of time for that information. I sent a formal letter to them just before I sent letter to the council, so last month, asking for what is the pathway, and I await that information.
Thank you, because I do recognize that we do have a city agreement and we deal with the district generally exclusively. Down my neck of the woods in Ward 8, I have a very big section of obviously trails through the OFSC, and I was wondering, I'd be more than willing to reach out to them on your part as well.
Perfect. Yes, and if you do, it would be wonderful if you could, if council were willing to do so, sort of indicate that it's our preference in the city that we do have local stewardship here, rather than turning the ownership over to, because right now, I don't know if people know, the OFSC has given the go-ahead to the Aurelia District Club to expand into the former Carden area. That's been down since 2023. And so the OFSC has given that official capacity permission for that group to do it, while there's a group of 25 families sitting here on Ward 1 who want to be the stewards, who want to steward that property rather than turning it over to Aurelia District to do it, when you have people on the ground here ready to do it. So that's sort of the sticking point that I see where council has its authority. And that's what Muskoka has done, to be clear. They have said, yeah, okay, we'll deal with the provincial body in terms of signing agreements with the district, but our people are the people on the ground here in Muskoka. And that's who we will be relying on to steward our land. So it's a little bit of a different approach than Kawartha has taken, and I think partly it's because historically, from what I can read from the notes and the reports that Kawartha Lakes have put forward, you were dealing exclusively directly with ONCA clubs, so the not-for-profit, Ontario Not-for-Profit Acts clubs. And then in, I think it was 2021, the ONCA changed their process, which required that the individual clubs within the province also changed their process, which allowed then the insurance parts to be decided through the OFSC, which is fine. I can understand why those liability and riders need to come through a provincial body rather than individual clubs. But then it seemed at some point the OFSC requested that you change the interactions between the city and the local clubs to the city and the provincial body, effectively, for insurance, and that's where we're potentially losing our voice. So I want council to be very, clear that that is what's potentially going on, and that we want to make sure that we retain the right to deal with and interact with local clubs while being covered by the insurance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the hitch here. We do have to recognize that the OFSC is the insurance provider, and it does obviously make it flow better for the municipality. So as I mentioned, I'll reach out just saying, we have a local club. How would it look like moving forward if this is something we want to entertain? So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Councillor Yo.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to Miss Perry. So I've been trying to wrap my head around this for a couple of weeks now, and the group that used to have the trail maintenance there was the Carden Snowdrifters.
Yes.
And now we have a group of people in Carden who, although there's no longer the club, they're reaching out and they want the Aurelia Club to come in and pick up the trail and pick up the maintenance for that trail, and do it on either an extension of or an expansion of the agreement that currently services the Black River area with the city of Kawartha Lakes, or a standalone agreement that the Kawartha Lake Snowmobile Club, something along that line, uses in the Somerville Forest in the interim while waiting for OFSC to get through their paperwork. And now your group wants to go in as a third party and say, no, we don't want them to do it. We want to do the maintenance on this trail, this section of trail. So is this? Am I getting this right? I'm trying to understand it. So is this like a third horse in the race, or is this,
Yeah. So I guess it is a little bit more complicated in that I'm happy to talk to you sort of offline about some of those complications. But essentially, yes. So January 25, a Facebook group was started basically saying, like, what is going on with Carden? And so people in this area started to mobilize and come together in 25 to start to put together some solutions. And so what happened was there was one sort of large group of people who all were just like, yes, we want trails to open. And then to be perfectly honest, factions sort of occurred, and one group of people decided that they were willing to open the trails by expanding the Aurelia district, and another group of us feel as though that's fine, but logistically there are just too many failures potential with that plan. And I'm happy to go into detail of what those failures are. One of them would be the fact that the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs has made it abundantly clear in writing to me that expanding the Aurelia district's offerings to Carden doesn't mean access to any of the new funding. That the same formulas that they used before, which were obviously broken, which is why the government has stepped in and given another $3.9 billion to save trails that were closing. And so the Aurelia district will be using the same money that they had to function Aurelia to expand over to our area. So in the past, the Carden Club existed here as its own section of land with its thing. So what we're being asked to do is join Aurelia district and share the money that they get for the land and share the groomer, one groomer, two areas. Just by saying that alone, council must be thinking in their head, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. If we used to have our own groomer here, how are they going to cover this amount of land and please everybody? And I would be very clear to you to say that I don't think that they are going to be able to do that. And so to me, the OFSC has given us a Band-Aid solution by saying, okay, fine, just go ahead and expand through Aurelia, but it's not a very good logistical plan, because what's going to happen is I'm pretty much convinced that unless we are committed to any additional funding, then how are they going to manage that? And we're going to be right back in the same point that we were at, where we're at right now. Several years, no trails. So this is why I think that, that essentially that's the long and short of it, is that I have in writing, and I'm happy to share it, that the OFSC is going off of the same funding. And I just don't see how that is going to work. Not to mention that in delaying opening up another trail, it's made it very hard for us to stick our hand up and say, hey, provincial government, we'd like to be part of some of that funding that you've handed out to open trails. The problem was that we didn't have trails open at the end of the 24-25 season. And so the funding that they put out had a clear rider saying that the money that they were giving out would be for trails that were already open and were slated to close at that point. But so it's really unfortunate because we've been closed for years now, and we hopefully council is moving quickly to get us open this year. There's a lot of growing concern about the fact that all over the province, business is booming because of winter trails, and we're still not open here at all in one way or another. So I'm not sure what the holdup has been till now. I understand insurance is complicated, but we've got to find a way to expedite this. And we also have to expedite it, making sure that we are not shooting ourselves in the foot, as easily said, for the future. We want to build a plan that is reliably going to succeed.
And I thank you for that answer. I'm sure there's lots in there that offline we can talk about, because I'm not sure. I'm still wrapping my head around this. You're asking the city to move quickly, and I don't fully understand what the city's supposed to move quickly on. You don't have a club per se, and you brought up a groomer. And do you have a groomer? Is there access to a groomer for your group?
So we don't have any of these things. So what I'm proposing, to be clear, is that the city go ahead and please get the trails open by having an interim plan with whatever the Orillia district is trying to organize right now. What I want is that before the city goes ahead and signs a 5-year deal, OFSC, or a 3-year deal, or even a 2-year deal, that the city adds to that land use agreement that you want to see a pathway to local stewardship.
Okay. Yeah. It's coming together for me now. Okay.
Yeah. So please don't sign away the keys to our land in the long term without saying, hey, we would like our people to be doing this. So if there isn't an existing group right now, what's the plan to help them get started? Will you give them the document? Let's start there. Like I still haven't received, how does a group become a club?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of fundamental to moving forward. So
exactly. And that's part of my hesitation in moving forward too fast here with that part. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to move to receive. I don't know if we have done that. I think we have done that.
We have a motion to receive.
And it's being forwarded to council in 2 weeks.
All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
Okay. Council, we are going to have 5 presentations that is probably going to go for about 2 hours. Did you want to take a break now or partway through the presentations? What is your wish? Partway through? Okay, so we'll move right on into presentations. First of all, we have 2 correspondence. That the correspondence from Nathaniel Hussar and Matthew Hussar regarding increased development charge fees in the city of Kawartha Lakes be received, and that this recommendation be brought forward to council for consideration at the next regular council meeting. I have a mover and seconder. Councillor Warren, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? And that's passed. Our first presentation is an update on the Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes. We have Ms. Lori Dillon-Chalk, Executive Director, Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes, and Jim Armstrong, Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, Lori Dillon, Executive Director of the Kawartha Community Foundation. I'm joined with Jim Armstrong, past chair, Kawartha Works Community Co-op. What a difference a year makes. A year ago, council gratefully invested in us, and we signed a partnership agreement almost exactly a year ago. Our partnership agreement had 3 components, and I'm here today to report on the return on your investment. There were 3 components. One was seeding the Social Sustainability Fund, which Carissa touched on. The other was operational funding, which was critical for us, and I'll touch on that, and then we'll finish by talking about vital signs. Our operational funding was $126,000. We have been able to grant $376,000 in return. This is a return of 3 to 1. So for every dollar you invested in us, we invested in the community $3, and we're only 75% of our year. So I think that's a pretty good return. Obviously, in those numbers, we have the 180 net new to our region, thanks to the grant that Carissa touched on. We also responded within a week, working with counselors, working with different people during the ice storm to bring $10,000 of food security, partnering with organizations like the Kawartha Lakes Food Source and the Community Care Foundation to support additional proteins. We also hired part-time local position in Carissa. And now let me touch very quickly on the seed funding. To date, we've been able to grant $56,000, and we invested $193,000 for future granting. The great thing about a public foundation is that we don't pay tax, and we can make capital gains. And so we have our funds invested conservatively with the Toronto Foundation, and we earned 12.1% last year, 12% net the year before, 10% the year before that. And that has resulted in $22,600 in investment income into our fund. Small commercial, if you're not getting that return for your chest fund, please talk to me, okay? All right, the last thing is $50,000 for vital signs funding. We're going to touch on this, but I want you to know we've spoken to over 120 different people. This is a beautiful combination of quantitative data and community consultation. Before I go on, there's obviously some challenges to sustainability as a public foundation. We are still building awareness of who we are and what we do. We have the dual responsibility of directing donations to the funds we hold instead of directing to our own operations. We don't qualify for the grants that we administer, and the grant administration fees are much lower than the grants that we administer. And I would say there are a lot of public and private granting programs that are designed around what I like to call sort of urban rules. They don't recognize that rural public foundations do direct delivery of services. And so we are excluded from a lot of different grants as foundations. So if you manage a grant, I urge you to take a look at those eligibility rules to see whether or not they're impacting foundations, not just ours, but all the foundations. Let's touch on vital signs. I'm going to speak really fast. This is 275 pages, but I'm not presenting all of them here. We're going to have lots of opportunity to present the full deck to those that want to see it. This is our report card on the community, and it is a standardized approach to measuring community well-being. Over 80 community foundations across Canada and internationally are using this method to measure the well-being of the community. It prioritizes local data, and in many cases, our census data is not broken down into those pieces. We've done that work so that social service agencies, all stakeholders, even counselors can use this to make data decisions, data-driven decisions. We're going to cut across 11 different major indicators of well-being. Let's get started. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you something you already know. The first thing is the size of City of Kawartha Lakes, slightly smaller than Algonquin Park. But when you look at us and all those other municipalities, we can see that we don't have the economies of scale for transportation, for getting services to every corner of our city. It makes coordinating service delivery very difficult. And this is more of a reminder for our residents than it is for those of you that know this intimately. The next is a chart of single-tier municipalities, but we've ranked them by population density. We are the second smallest, lowest in population density. There's obviously 3 tiers, and my question would be, are the funders using the same rules for 3 tiers of single-tier municipalities? Are we adequately funded by the province? These are questions that we can ask. But it also underscores the importance of the social services and the nonprofit sector in our region. So how is the community changing? Well, we're up 9,000 people in the last decade. That's a growth rate of 12%. Now it's smaller than the province at 17%, or the province at 18%, and the nation at 17%. But it's a heck of a lot higher than the G7 countries. On top of that, our population surges 6 to 17%. There are some migration trends to understand. The one that kind of comes out is the growth among those who are over 60 and the outward migration of workforce populations. So we tend to lose those between 45 and 60. They may be coming back later on, but they're obviously core to the labor force. Let's talk about seniors. This is a really fun chart. What we've got is all 29 health units before they all reorganized recently. The top yellow is Kawartha Lakes, and the second bar is our health unit. We are the highest, or the health unit with the largest aging population. So this is almost a third are over the age of 65. You can imagine the pressures of something like that. We consulted with the Fenelon Falls Senior Center, and they told us a number of things that are working and not working. We'd encourage you to take a look at that report. Some of these may be familiar to you. What is not working tended to focus on healthcare, transportation, and housing. One thing, because they are a big portion, I also want to direct you to another, common theme. Are we getting enough provincial and federal support for our senior programming? It's a question to be raised. This is a map of the senior active living centers that are provincially funded and age-friendly communities. And the circle is Kawartha Lakes. So we are the health unit with the most seniors, and we do not have very many age-friendly designations. Part of the challenge with funding is it depends on transportation. And so you can see as the second, as a very, very large city with a small populace, some of those funding rules are working against us. The last thing I'll say about seniors is we heard loud and clear that there is missing a range of small format centralized housing, and they have some very specific needs. We can't talk about the changing community without also touching on immigration. There's been a lot in the news lately. We were fortunate to work with Trent University to conduct 2 formal focus groups with newcomers. What I can tell you is that we're not known for having immigrants because we haven't had immigrants in the last 20 years, but the last 2 years have eclipsed the last 20. And so we don't have the settlement services that it's time to have. A couple things in speaking to recent immigrants, they choose Kawartha Lakes by choice and not by chance. And I think that's a great compliment. Sometimes they're spouses of returning residents who have gone and had global experiences and they come back. Other times they're very attracted to our small town character, nature, and beauty. Income, wealth, and poverty. We have lower incomes. It's worth looking at median incomes instead of average incomes. When we break that down by age, we notice that families over 55 have a larger income drop. That might not be a negative thing. That could just reflect early retirement. Work in the economy. We have some really strong aspects of our economy. 80% of the jobs are filled by residents. You compare that to Ajax, 50% are commuting elsewhere. We do have to rely on neighboring cities for labor, and our economy is resilient. Even though we've had incredible population growth, we've managed to hold our unemployment lower than the province. We do have some challenges. Our participation rate is much lower than the rest of the province, so we don't have the same participation in our workforce. We have some seasonal and gender-specific unemployment. Our employment is all concentrated in population-serving sectors, which makes it difficult to earn revenue, and we're falling short of living wages. We have 14% of our labor force in roles that are below living wages. Just for fun, not a lot of charts. There's more charts in our long deck, but here's our population pyramid. We are the purple line, and you can see our senior population, and then you can see how it comes in, and that gives you an idea of sort of a workforce imbalance that we're facing. The next slide I'll show you is a chart on educational attainment, and there are 4 different bars. One is Ontario, which is gray, Kawartha Lakes is yellow, and then you have immigrant and newcomer. We have 11% that have no education. It's definitely a goal for us to look into, and it's much higher than the province. We have a higher high school attainment as the only educational attainment, and we're very low in university. So Women's Changemaker comes along with Ampere and an idea around encouraging STEM. I would say, based on this chart, it's a good idea. Yeah. The other thing, and I failed to mention it, if we look at educational attainment among newcomers and immigrants, there's our solution. They can help in the sectors that need that type of skill sets quite nicely. Jim.
Thank you, Lori. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to be joining in this presentation today. Kawartha Community Cooperative has been glad to join in this study because this kind of holistic analysis that draws together all the different aspects of the community, I think is going to be very, very useful in seeing ways to best meet the needs for development in the city of Kawartha Lakes. So I will just make a few comments about some of the sections of the report. This next section is focused on housing, and that, of course, is a major area in the study because of the significance of the issues that we currently face in the housing sector. Of course, affordability is a big issue. It's not quite as bad in Kawartha Lakes as more generally, because costs of housing have been lower here. Unfortunately, not as good as 10 years ago, because the average cost of housing has doubled in the last 10 years. And so it's not as much of an advantage as it used to be. The mix of housing available is also becoming an interesting aspect. When you delve into the data, one of the significant growth areas is in larger population households. In Kawartha Lakes, households with 5 or more people is a significant, relatively more significant component of growth, and therefore the mix of housing is going to become a consideration in the planning for the housing development. In Kawartha Lakes, we have a relatively higher proportion of rental accommodation than elsewhere, and yet at the same time, quite a limited supply of rental accommodation. So that is going to be an increasing pressure point. The foundation has also picked up from its ongoing activities that there's quite a significant component of the rental market is large-scale property investors. And so you have a decision-making element there that's looking at larger considerations than just the local circumstances. Food security is the next section in the report, and of course that also is an acute concern. I sort of think of this as the 2020 section because, as is generally the case in the province, about 20% of the population face significant food insecurity issues. So that's 1 in 5 people, 1 in 5 households. The other 20% is how much that need has increased in recent years. And that has not only meant the pressure for those households, it also means accompanying pressure for the food banks. And the food banks plus Kawartha Food Source face a number of operational issues that I think there's opportunity for us to find ways to better address. Go on to the next one. Health, again, of course, is a really big component of the study. And it's very much a combination of demand and supply issues. In terms of demand, unfortunately, in aggregate, population in Kawartha Lakes is relatively less healthy than elsewhere in the province. As shown there, we have one of the highest mortality burdens, not just because of having a proportionately higher aged population, but also because of that health status. There's above average rates of preventable and treatable death in Kawartha Lakes, and that's where the supply side comes in, that we don't have the kind of access to services that we need to meet that need. And of course, this is something that you're well aware of, and the city has been taking significant action in that direction on things like the Summit Healthcare development in Kobukok and so on. But the magnitude of the challenge is quite substantial. Addiction issues are major in Kawartha Lakes. All the aspects here we're showing in terms of drinking, smoking, and at the same time, interestingly, and perhaps because of our outdoor semi-rural environment, the physical activity reported activity level is higher than elsewhere. So there's an interesting kind of mix of factors to analyze there. In the report, you'll see that we've been looking at some of the survey results about well-being of the community. And again, there's some encouraging features there that we can build upon in terms of improving health status in the city. Another important part of the report is concerning children and youth. And in general, it's I would say, a picture that's comparable to other areas of the province in terms of school attainment, but also, unfortunately, in terms of some of the issues that young people face. Since the pandemic, the absenteeism rates have gone up very substantially, and this is something the school boards are wrestling with. Mental health issues are quite significant and increasing. On the right there, the chart shows some of the results in terms of a recent survey of students. And I would also just add, it's not on the screen here, but there's a very active interagency community committee operating, as you may know, with support of Boys and Girls Club and other youth organizations in the city. And they also are currently using a social sustainability grant to better understand the needs of youth in the city. So it is an area where we see a lot of potential for action being accelerated coming out of these studies.
Thank you. Let's talk about arts and culture. Our creative economy is growing 20%, 20.7%. Even though it's a small base, it employs about 2% of our workforce. It's very, very promising. And in fact, there are reports that arts and culture generate higher returns for tourism. The one thing we did notice is that there's very little funding from the Canadian Council of the Arts, and we're not too clear about the Ontario Council of Arts. When we look at the Canadian Council of Arts, which grants $302 million across Canada, and we divide that per capita, we're getting about 84 cents. So part of Vital Signs is to make ourselves known and to go after those grants and invite funders to get to know us better and ensure that we understand what grants are out there and how we might be eligible. Parks and Rec, there's satisfaction with the number and distribution. There is some dissatisfaction on the variety and outdated facilities, and we're aware that Jen is working on a new strategy. So we're looking forward to seeing those details. The one thing that jumped out to our data analyst, and we did hire a senior data analyst to pour through all the data, was our libraries. Our libraries was stunning, and I actually got a phone call from our data analyst saying, it is performing very well for the services, and we have a high number of branches in our region. When we took a look at it, we see it as probably one of the most powerful tools for addressing complex society problems and challenges. And we also know that library systems in general are working on a measurement. It's very hard to measure the value of something that is offered for free, and libraries are doing that. So I know that you have that presentation, but we've noted the public library in our report, and the libraries, as with all the staff, have been very transparent in sharing their data. Of course, we mentioned the new cultural center. We're very excited to see that development. Let's talk about public safety and security. In the full report, you'll see this level of data on every slide. While we're talking about data, crime stats depend where you start in your time period. If you start the chart in 2014, then crime's, escalating. But if you start the chart in 1997, you're going to see a different pattern. So we're sharing this chart because we want people to question the data that they're seeing. And when there's a spike, something definitely happened in 2014. So what happened? Well, you've got new cyber crimes that are added into the system. Things like laws around luring and dissemination of intimate photography online were all added in 2014. You've got the impact of body cameras. You've got a lot of things that are changing the data. Naturally, there are also some rising crime, property crime, identity theft, fraud, things like that to watch. But just so this is more about understand the data and question the data. And that's what Vital Signs is trying to do and democratize for everyone. We have two police forces, as you know. The nice thing is we can actually stack that data and compare us to the rest of Ontario. And when we do that, we're average in terms of crime. So, want everyone to understand that we do have, an average crime rate. Obviously, when you separate that, Lindsay stands out because Lindsay is the hub for a lot of services and has crime of a different nature than rural Kawartha. So a couple things. In Lindsay, escalating 911 calls. But we also noted that we don't use 211 very often. So some of the answers to the escalating calls may be lying in other opportunities for systems navigation. Finding information and systems navigation was a constant thread in Vital Signs. There are property crimes, which in our interviews, they were called crimes of opportunity. They're unlocked cars with wallets inside. that create multiple charges in one incident, and that also raises the crime rate. We also noticed a strong police health crossover, with the wealth checks, overdoses, and repeat calls. We acknowledge that when all the charities close at night, the police still have to take Friday to Monday and work on those types of calls. So having something like John Howard Society, which is open outside of the normal hours, is going to support the police force. There is youth crime from out-of-town organized crime that we heard about. There is a justice system load, and there's intimate partner violence, which we don't want to treat lightly by just making it a bullet, but we do encourage you to go to the report. Rural Kawartha Lakes was lower on everything but one area. Now, Jim mentioned we have sort of these tendencies towards substance abuse. We see this in impaired driving. When I looked at the numbers, we actually have a impaired driving charge once every 3 days. Is that, alcohol or weed? Hard to tell. That data is very hard for us to also tell whether it's youth or there is some gender differences. But it is something to take a look at. In rural Kawartha, those numbers are up 20%. And of course, those crimes have tremendous impact when they result on head-on collision, as was the case for one of our board members. The environment. I have to say I'm very pro-Kawartha Conservation. They were fantastic in providing environmental data. And in fact, they provide a level of data that might surprise a lot of people. But they are all pieces of information that help us plan for emergencies. Here's what they told us. Drought confirmed last year. That is no surprise to our farmers who had to truck in water for their livestock. Higher than average snowpack, which can cause local flooding. And they're monitoring the snowpack in 4 different locations across our city. They monitor lake temperatures. They certainly were aware of the ice storm, as we all were, 97% without power. And we acknowledge that there's been wildfires. With the Rural Ontario Institute, they also provide us with a forecast on what to expect in the future. Hotter days, longer growing seasons, shorter winter seasons. While that may sound like we can have a longer growing season for some of our goods, realize that it also impacts the number of pests, the number of diseases, and of course, close to my heart, it ruins the maple syrup season. This is the last one, civic engagement and belonging. In our report, we also look at voter engagement. We know that voter engagement is kind of flat on a national level. On provincially, voter participation is down 12%, but we're in line with the province. Where we're not in line, this is a national issue, is donations. Donations are dropping even faster in Kawartha Lakes than the rest of the country. It has gone from a healthy 1 in 4, 25%, to 15%. Imagine the revenue that is carved out for charities in this kind of chart. And it doesn't reflect the local wealth in our area. And so, there is some opportunity for community philanthropy. When I started at the foundation, a few charities asked me if there was room for one more charity. And I understand why when I see this chart. Of course, I always believe there's room. I think that we just need to start encouraging the philanthropy. And here's why. As you know, we are in the cusp of the largest intergenerational wealth transfers. I know you've heard that. But now with Vital Signs, you also know that our younger generations are increasingly living and working elsewhere. And those bequests, those charitable inheritances could be leaving our region. We need people to invest in the Kawartha Lakes. Certainly when you see the size of Kawartha Lakes and the challenges with providing services to that geographical footprint that may not be in the consideration of funders. We need private financing, and we need philanthropy and legacy giving. So we're here to do it the slow way. We'll give people vital signs and the data on how we can improve lives, and we hope that we can be there to partner and invest in Kawartha Lakes. And that concludes our presentation of vital signs today. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe if you'd stick around, there might be some questions. Councillor Doble.
Thank you very much for this presentation. It's almost overwhelming. There's an awful lot to digest here, and a ton of work has gone into putting this together. But there's some very useful, important, sobering, and encouraging information to be provided there. My first reaction is we need our young people, first of all, to stay here, and we need more young people to move here. And so what can we do as a community to facilitate that? I mean, I could go on and on and on, but that's my first observation from that, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but thank you very much for this. I'm going to need to spend a lot of time studying this information.
Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, thank you very much. An awesome presentation, and it really shows, like when we receive presentations from the health unit, from our conservations, even looking at our own city portfolios with our master plans and our strategies. My question is the current foundation's funding priorities aligning with the emerging needs you're seeing right now in Kawartha Lakes?
Is our granting so the wonderful thing about creating the social sustainability grant and working with Cheryl Faber and Human Services is the intention all along was to use vital signs to inform how to strategically grant to make the most impact. We were able to do some of that in this year, but we will be able to do more of that in 2026. We also changed our charitable registration so that we can partner with nonprofits, which most charities cannot support. But we have gone through that CRA process to do that.
Thank you. So are you, because of bringing all this data together, what are the top 3 gaps that you're currently seeing?
Transportation, housing, and access to healthcare. I mean, there's the big ones. I think the challenge is a lot of this is using census data. The good news is we're in a census year. And in working with your data analysts, Rachel Lewis, I know that the response rate in Kawartha Lakes for your census is actually very high and very healthy compared to the province, Haliburton, and Peterborough. So 2028 will be a boon year for really understanding ethnicity, immigration, housing. We may need to use our in-between years to do some surveys and certainly more consultations.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Thanks very much, Mayor, and thank you for this excellent presentation. It's like we have our own customized census for the city of Kawartha Lakes, so that's going to be invaluable. I know so many of us, when we're trying to make decisions, are Googling statistics back to 2016 data. And so, again, thank you for this incredibly helpful tool. I want to, of course, commend you on making the 12% return on investment for donations and funds that are held through the Community Foundation. I have to tell a brief anecdote. There is a book prize, a fund at Featherton Falls Secondary School in the names of the late Mary and Doug Perry. And every year that from the fund is drawn a book prize to a deserving male and female student. And I'm pleased to say, having talked to Lori, that not only has that book prize been awarded for the past 5 or 6 years, each year, 5 years, because of the capacity and the ingenuity of this model, the Community Foundation, there's more money in that fund overall than there was when we started it. It has made money. So this really is an invaluable tool to have here locally, and thank you all for your hard work. I just had two suggestions around vital signs, seeing as you're both here. Again, there's so much data to have to go through, and it's so helpful for us. Everything seems to be covered. One area that I think is unfortunately conspicuous by its absence and not visible, what's that now?
I know what you're going to say.
Go ahead.
Well, if you were to ask me what's missing, truth and reconciliation.
Right. I would just ask about the inclusion of our Indigenous population here in Kawartha Lakes, which estimates have over 1,000 local residents, but having that not only quantified as best possible, but also included in the analysis moving forward gives presence of our Indigenous residents. So thank you for being so accepting of that suggestion and that request. Also, is there a way to, again, have this great local Kawartha Lake census so handy as a one-stop shop, right? A sole tool, as a resource. I was wondering, can you have some information in there about things that we often hear about and need to ask? What is the poverty line here, quote unquote? How many folks do fall below? How many families are using the food banks? How many persons living with disabilities do we have? Maybe some of that more specific information, so that when we're using it, we have that go-to guide. And again, I just want to commend you on all this excellent work and return on investment. So thank you.
Some of that data is in the 275-page report, which is now available online. With respect to truth and reconciliation, I think I am excited that the census now includes a greater breakdown. The challenge with our data is a lot of these vulnerable groups disappear in the law of large numbers. And so what we really need to do is have consultations. So it is something that we're aware of. It is the 10th year for maybe 11th year now for truth and reconciliation. We know that that's a gap.
No, thanks for that.
Thank
and beyond truth and reconciliation, it's about how community surveys and tools like this ensure that Indigenous people appear.
Yeah.
Right, and aren't disappeared.
I agree.
From these kinds of initiatives, especially living here. And that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Warren.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Jim and Lori, for this incredible data. It really is an education to really see what is happening on the landscape. I also like the 12%, and I will be reaching out to our trust funds to see what actually we get compared to the Community Foundation. And I also want to say we are so lucky to have the Community Foundation, and it was certainly a good idea to be partnering with you folks. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. A couple comments and a question. I know it's more work, but to Councillor Perry's comment there, how many families are using the food bank? Well, Kawartha Lakes Food Source probably has that data. So we have other organizations that we can cross-reference to get that information. And we actually, CEO Anderson can better answer this question. We do have a measure for the library system, a measurement tool. I can't relate to it right now because it's not in front of me, but so we have that as well. My question is, back to the charitable giving, how do we unlock that? Like it's, I guess it's, I'm going to guess it's fatigue. Charitable fatigue has let it drop down so low, but any suggestions, ideas how we unlock that to get it back up?
Well, that's a great question. I would say the culture of giving has gone down across the country. So it is a problem shared by many. We are aware that those that, only 52% of people make wills. And of that 52%, only 10% include charitable giving. And of that 10%, there tends to be, most of those donations are for dogs and cats. So we need, not to denigrate those types of charities. It's just that we need people to think differently about giving. Most people have an RESP or RRSP or some kind of long-term savings vehicle. We are the charity that does that. We're not a charity that focuses on money in and out within 12 months. We're the one that focuses on sustainable change and, systemic change. So part of it is talking to people about estate giving. And that gets into larger donations that can actually make a difference. When I hear Pat Warren, I'm reminded of Fulbert Pool. Fulbert Pool took 10 years and $300,000 from a couple that gave that as part of their estate. What a wonderful gift to Bob Keegan. We can help do more of that. And so, somewhere your answer lies in that thread.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, thank you for coming today and for what you do. And I think that I'm very pleased that council voted to support the Community Foundation when it did. And I think that the numbers you've shown today show that that investment is paying off. And it's your and your board's stewardship that made that possible. And I think that our whole community is beholden to you for what you have been able to do with, in the grand scheme, the meager funds that we offered to you. And I wish you continued success. And I'm sure that council will look favorably on going forward to make sure that we continue this partnership. So thank you very much for coming today and for sharing all this with you. Councillor Warren, have you asked your question? Your hand's still up. Thank you. So I'll get a motion to receive the deputation. Councillor Perry, Councillor Yeo, all in favor? And that's passed. Thank you once again for coming today and sharing. We will move on and do the overview of Five Counties Children's Center, and then we will take a break, okay? So we have Mr. Scott Pepin, CEO of Five Counties, and Darlene Callan, Clinical Services Director. Whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Ellsby and the members of this council for having us today and to have the opportunity to talk to you about Five Counties Children's Center. As you heard, my name is Scott Pepin. I'm the CEO of Five Counties, and I'm almost as excited as Mabel up there to talk to you today. That's almost. I can't quite match her enthusiasm, but I'm really happy to tell you about the work that we do in our community. So Five Counties is one of almost 24 children's treatment centers in Ontario. And we are actually one of the ones with the largest catchment. As we saw, we incorporate the city of Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton County, Northumberland County, Peterborough City, and Peterborough County. And the 6,208 kids we served last year was the highest total that we've ever served in our history. We have main sites in Lindsay, Peterborough, and Cobourg, and we have some smaller sites in Haliburton, Minden, and Campbellford. We're also, what people don't often realize is we're in every public school in those areas, providing services in those schools. In our communities, we're there as well. So that includes Logie Park here in Lindsay, where our therapeutic recreation staff run the Active Kids Lindsay program every summer, giving children of all abilities an opportunity to enjoy sports and activities. And that park is a wonderful, accessible rec space. That's something for the city of Kawartha Lakes to be very proud of. So what we do, our services are diverse and benefit many children, just like this gentleman right over here, Arthur. And so we have 3 big services that are listed on the slide that you see here, but we also offer other services like our Autism Spectrum Diagnostic Clinic, our Augmentative Communication Services, our Infant Hearing Program, our Seating and Mobility Clinic, and there's many, many others. These are publicly funded services, so families do not have to pay for them. The added benefit is that most of our services, the parents themselves can refer. So they don't require having to go to a GP or having a GP to be able to receive these services. And the other program that we have is the Smart Start Hub, which is relatively recent. And we are the one-stop shop for any developmental question a family may have about their children. They can call us. We will answer. We will connect with them. You can make referrals on our website as well. And we work very closely with all the services in the community. And so if 5 Counties isn't the service that they need, we can connect them through partner agencies like Lakelands Public Health, BGC Kawartha, Chimo Youth and Family Services, Community Living Trent Highlands, Early On Centers throughout Ontario, and many others. So our roots run deep, and so we were established in 1975, and this year was our 50th anniversary, and we did a lot of celebrating. And in September, we hosted our Family 50 Fest here in Lindsay. Mayor Elmsby, you were there to celebrate with us, as well as others. Our first site opened up in Peterborough in 1975, and it was really the dream and determination of a lot of people. A lot of the Rotary clubs, a lot of community leaders got together and got us open, and we've been just growing ever since. So from day one, when we first opened our doors, we assisted children and youth from Lindsay and what was Victoria County. Lindsay resident here, Mike Hanna, is also among our alumni. And he remembers coming to 5 Counties back in the late 70s for speech and physiotherapies. He was actually bused to Peterborough from his school north of Lindsay. And the great thing about Mike is he never forgets his ties to 5 Counties, and every year he hosts an annual fundraising bike ride from Omemee to Lindsay to raise money for the center. In 1981, we opened our first site outside of Peterborough in Lindsay. It came as a result of an invitation from Ross Memorial Hospital, where they allowed us to use extra space to treat kids, and they didn't charge us for it. So we were in the Ross till 1987, and my colleague over there, Darlene, which many of you know, was the first occupational therapist who was hired to work in Lindsay, and she's been with 5 Counties ever since. Don't ask her how many years, but we're pleased to have her with us. So we rented space in Lindsay after 1987, and then we've been all over the town over the last few decades after. In the mid-2000s, we purchased our current building on Russell Street East in Lindsay. This building dates back to 1847. We're almost a 2-century home, this particular building. And it's had many different purposes as a private family residence, apartments, a lawyer's office, and many other purposes. After major renovations, including installing a new elevator, we moved into that building in 2006, and it served us well over the past 20 years. But now we are bursting at the seams. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of more stats, as we heard some before, but particular in our community. Part of the success we've had is that we're growing, and we're growing fast. And there's been increasing demands in our services in this particular community alone. Last year, we saw a 10% increase in number of kids that we needed to serve in the CKL region. To put that in perspective, the number of children we assisted last year would fill the Academy Theater 3 times. Historically, the number of children in this community represents about 25% of all our cases overall, with about 50% being Lindsay and the 25% being the Northumberland County. So this is a couple little testimonials on what people have to say about the services with 5 counties. So we have been so fortunate to have many great community partners in this work and amazing staff that go above and beyond every single day to make this work. But the core of what we do are the parents and the caregivers who know their child best and the essential partners to support their children's treatment goals. We're fortunate to have many parents and caregivers like Jenna and Victoria pictured above doing great work with their kids, and we're proud to support them, and they've been huge supporters of us in their own ways. We're grateful to see that 5 counties' services are being very beneficial to families. So our reality, so like other children's treatment center, the bulk of our funding comes from the provincial government. The annual reports that we've distributed to everyone before the meeting provide you a complete overlook at our finances and the work that we do. We are grateful for the province's support, but the funding we get from Queen's Park doesn't meet the demand for service. As a registered charity, 5 counties tries to offset this by raising additional money, and the funds raised we use directly to hire more clinicians. We have some equipment needs, and we will fundraise for those equipment, but we have so many kids who are on the wait list that our main focus is to get those kids off the wait list as soon as possible. And so I have Lynn here, who is also our fundraising director. So Lynn comes with me for a lot of our events, as it is a much more challenging environment in which to raise funds. And so we've been very fortunate to be supported by our communities. And in particular, our fundraising efforts help us treat 500 kids a year. So it is a big impact, and we would have much longer waiting lists if we did not have the support of our fundraising team. So a little bit of a snapshot, I'm thinking hockey. I want to see the game as well. This slide provides a snapshot of the situation in the city of Kawartha Lakes as of December 31st, 2025. In the balloons, you can see the number of kids in CKL who are essentially waiting for services at our Lindsay site or in our schools. Wait times varies. Speech therapy is the highest demand for service. Right now, on average, CKL kids are waiting 137 days or 5 months for speech treatment. Wait times for occupational therapy is about 116 days for in-center services and almost 80 days for school. We know that early intervention matters for children. Consider speech therapy, where months or years of delays can impact a child's ability to speak and communicate and even stay up to speed with classes in school. So it has a huge impact on their overall growth and development. So at a time when the number of referrals for 5 counties is increasing, we have been able to reduce our wait lists by over 15% in the last 3 years. We've been able to do this through enhanced staffing, serving families in new and innovative ways, and moving to a tiered intervention model for our school-based services that ensures the right child gets the right treatment at the right time. So what we do know is just driving around Kawartha Lakes, you can see a growing community. This is backed up by the city's own projections, and we anticipate a big jump in population in Lindsay and the surrounding communities. And we're among many service organizations that will directly be impacted by the higher populations and our desire to have more families remain in our community and have children. So we are here to help, and we are prepared to respond to the growing needs in our community. In 2026, we mark 45 years of having a location in Lindsay, and our footprint here across the region, as I've said earlier, stretches back 50 years. I mentioned our site in Lindsay is bursting at the seams, and we're no longer able to meet the needs in that existing building. So we are actively looking at new options for 5 counties in our Lindsay community, and we are in talks, and we're looking to secure space, and we're looking to grow because we want to be there and be responsive to the community as it goes. And as you know, we already have a ton of kids waiting for services, so we want to be able to essentially grow with the community. And our motto is building abilities for life. So it's something we have done for decades in this community. And it's something we plan to continue to do in the decades to come. So my only ask, if you haven't already, is I would love to give you a tour of our site and get you to see some of the services that happen at 5 counties. Now, I know a few of you already have, but if you haven't, please, I welcome you anytime you would like to come and visit us. And I would like to say thank you for this time today.
Thank you.
One more, a couple extra slides there, but it just slides from our 50th celebration. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you for the work you do. You know, we just heard from the Community Foundation, and of course, you are kind of a reciprocal or the other side of the Community Foundation. But the work you do is so important. And your 50 years in the community, I can only hope that you get another 50 and 50 and 50 more going. It would be nice to say that your services become redundant and you're not needed anymore, but I certainly don't see that happening. Your numbers are growing, and I think it's just marvelous what you do and the commitment of your people. And when you go to your site and you see the enthusiasm of your employees and the people and the families that have been impacted, and how much they appreciate what it is that has been done for them and to them, I can't say enough good things about you.
Thank you so much. I'll take that back to the team. They're amazing with the work they do.
Okay. I need a motion to receive the presentation. Deputy Mayor Richardson, Councillor Warren, and Deputy Mayor Richardson, you have a question.
I have a question, and actually probably echoing your same sentiments. It's outstanding what you have done and what you continue to do for our community, and we can't thank you enough. I'm just wondering, one question I do have, you said you're busting at the seams. Do you have a long-term vision for you for the agency on what you're going to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. So the board itself is very invested, and it's our top priority to grow in Lindsay and look at a new facility. So we don't have plans firm, nailed down yet. We are in talks about purchasing and potentially building, and we would do that obviously in this community, close to a bus route, easily accessible for families. And so that is our number one priority, and it's where the board is has already committed to making investments in that area. And we would hope at some point soon that we would be able to make an announcement and kind of knock on some doors for some support to make this a reality.
Well, thank you for that vision, and I think the whole community thanks you for that. And you're right, Darlene Callan is a legend.
Yes, she is.
Okay, we have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you again so much for what you do and for coming today.
And thank you all for the time today. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. We're going to take a break till 3:15. Welcome back. Next up is item 7.3, which is the 10-year growth management plan for the Kawartha Lakes Public Library. We have Mr. Jamie Anderson, Ms. Mila DeChef-Tweddle, and Ms. Zoe Brown, the latter two from Nord City, and I hope I didn't butcher your name too badly. Jamie, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for giving us this opportunity to update you on the library's new growth management strategy. Public libraries are at the heart of our communities. Libraries are welcoming, dependable spaces shaped by the needs of the people we serve. Here in Kawartha Lakes, where rural service gaps, steady growth, and changing community needs come together, the library plays an especially important role. This growth plan outlines how the library will keep supporting residents today and while getting ready for what's ahead tomorrow. With 14 branches across the municipality, the library is a familiar and trusted presence in communities throughout Kawartha Lakes. Developed over the past year with input from public, staff, and community partners, the growth strategy is designed to help the library grow alongside the city. At its core, the plan reaffirms the library's role as an essential public service, one that improves access, brings together people, and supports community well-being. With that, I will hand things over to our consultants from Nord City, Mila DeChef-Tweddle and Zoe Brown. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of Council, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Mila, that's my colleague Zoe over there. We're from Nordicity, a consulting firm that specializes in library planning, as well as city planning and nonprofit strategic planning, and we're really thrilled to be here to present this growth strategy to you, which charts a course for the library for the next 10 years. We've been working really closely with the library since last spring to develop this plan, so it's wonderful to finally be able to share the fruits of that effort with you here today. Next slide. We want to leave some room for you to ask any, oh, it's not advancing. I'll just give it a minute. Pause.
Just stop for a minute. We seem to have developed technical difficulties.
Not a problem. Okay, great. So yes, as I was saying, we want to leave some time for you today in case you have any questions. So we'll be fairly brief in our presentation. First, we'll give you a very high-level overview of the context and the process that shaped the plan, and then we'll walk you through the plan itself, though we won't go into full detail. As you'll probably have seen, the full plan is quite robust, and we only have kind of a limited time with you today, so we will stay high level. Next slide. So first, why a growth plan for Kawartha Lakes Public Library and why now? Next slide. As Jamie so eloquently just described, the library is far more than a book repository. It offers trusted community spaces in almost every corner of Kawartha Lakes and is one of the only services that's truly local for people across both urban and rural and remote areas of the community. We also know that the city is growing. And we know that most of that growth is going to happen here in Lindsay, which is projected to more than double in population by 2050. There will also be some growth in Bobcaygeon, Fenelon Falls, as well as Omini though to a lesser extent. And we also know the library is bursting at the seams right now. It's doing a lot with the resources it has, as we just heard. It has strong programs, outreach, digital services, and a well-used collection. But it's close to being maxed out. It's operating near its the limits of what its existing space and staffing capacity allow. So the library needs to grow with the city to keep meeting community needs, especially in light of a growing population. And that's ultimately why and where the growth strategy comes in. So it sets the path to make sure the library system has a plan for growth to meet future community need and demand for library services, and that it's resourced appropriately to support that growth. Next slide. So that's the why. Now briefly onto the how. So our approach at Nordicity to this type of planning is always to build from the ground up. And I really want to emphasize that. As I alluded to earlier, this is a highly collaborative process. The growth strategy is not any one person's vision. It really reflects the voices from staff, from all 14 branches, the library board, city partners, residents, everyone really who shared their experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future of library service in Kawartha Lakes, as well as our own library sector experience and expertise. So this plan really came together based on extensive research, engagement, and collaboration across all levels of the organization and community. And each input built on the others across a 4-phase process, which I'll very briefly touch on. Next slide. So in the first phase, we set out to build a strong understanding of the local context in Kawartha Lakes, growth and demographic trends in the local population, and the library's operations and activities through things like a review of key planning and policy documents, both internally at the library and the city's planning documents, a community profile and market analysis that looked at population projections and trends in Kawartha Lakes to understand how the city is growing and changing and how the library might be impacted by those trends. We did a provisions analysis where we looked at library offerings and activities and compared them against both sector guidelines and against benchmarks from 5 other peer library systems, and a review of broader trends in library services, technology, and facility design. Next. In the second phase, we went out into the community to gather input from across Kawartha Lakes to ensure the strategy reflects the needs and concerns of the community, including both current library patrons and also current library non-users. So in total, 380 individuals were engaged across a variety of different touch points, which included a visit to each of the 14 branches during a week-long visit in Kawartha Lakes, internal engagement sessions with library leadership and the board, engagements with staff through informal discussions during those site visits, as well as through an online staff survey, external engagements with city staff and council members, so thank you again to those of you who contributed your time and insight to the process, discussions with external community partners and organizations, and input from the public through an online public survey, as well as pop-ups held at locations around the city and poster boards posted in branches where community members could share input in a low-pressure format. Next slide. From there, we moved into validation and planning. This is where we brought together everything we learned through the first 2 phases and began to connect the dots. So at this stage, we identified what's working really well at the library, where some of the challenges and gaps are, and what the key opportunities for the next 10 years could be. And then we use those findings as a jumping off point in a planning session with the board and management to workshop a vision for growth for the library and lay out priorities and directions to guide that growth. From there, we moved into the final phase where we shaped, refined, and finalized the growth plan before presenting it in front of you here today. So the next step, of course, is going to be for the library to implement the plan. But with that, I'll pass it off to Zoe to take us through the result of all the great work.
Thank you, Mila. Okay, so we'll now move on to the plan itself. So as Mila mentioned, the growth strategy is essentially a roadmap for the library's next 10 years, laying out where it's headed. It's also designed to ensure the library doesn't just grow with the city, but also leads how the city can grow in some ways. So next slide, please. So the plan is overall guided by a central principle or vision for growth, and that vision is the library is celebrated as a community hub that connects people, builds skills, and enriches life across Kawartha Lakes. Through convenient services and inspiring spaces, the library connects communities across the municipality. Staff provide professional, personalized support from answering everyday questions to guiding lifelong learning and specialized research, while programs and collections celebrate creativity, knowledge, and discoverability. In doing so, the library sustains the strengths patrons value today while serving as a key municipal partner in preparing Kawartha Lakes for the opportunities and growth of tomorrow. So next slide, please. So in the plan, next slide, please. Oh, I think we went back. There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much. So in the plan, there are a set of desired future states which sit just below the vision for growth. They essentially define what success will look like across the library's key areas of activity. They're not recommendations in and of themselves. They're more along the lines of subvisions for each of the areas you see on the screen. So for governance and organizational capacity, the focus is on strong governance, leadership continuity, and equitable staffing supported by clear communication, professional development, and a refreshed partnership with the city that provides a strong foundation for planning and shared service delivery. Then in terms of programs, services, and collections, the emphasis here is on programs and collections that serve residents at every stage of life, reflecting the diversity of the community. So here, centralized coordination and branch-led service work hand in hand, supported by strong partnerships and a growing focus on digital literacy. Then for library engagement and experience, the goal is that the library is recognized citywide as a welcoming, essential civic institution. Residents should see all branches as part of their library, and it will be supported by consistent, high-quality service and vibrant partnerships that build civic connection. And then lastly here, in terms of facilities, the focus is on library spaces that are modern, adaptable, and accessible. Facilities should be aligned with population growth and community character, with larger urban branches alongside smaller branches and service points that maintain vital access across the system. So next slide, please. To help move towards these future states and the vision for growth I just mentioned, the growth strategy is organized around 3 interconnected priorities. So the first is build capacity, then we have enhance service, and finally improve and expand spaces. Each of these priorities is structured with a series of objectives, so what the library will achieve or aim to achieve, and then actions which specifies how the library will achieve those objectives. So we'll take a closer look at some of those. Next slide, please. So starting with priority 1, build capacity. The library's ability to grow depends on strong foundations. Governance, library staff, and internal systems might not be visible to patrons, but they make it possible for the library to serve residents equitably and adapt to change with confidence. With the right structures in place, the library can sustain quality service today while preparing for the needs of tomorrow. So there are 3 objectives to advance this priority, and they are ensure strong governance and leadership, invest in a skilled, well-supported workforce, and establish equitable service across the system. There are quite a number of recommendations or actions in the plan, as Mila mentioned. So for the sake of time, I won't go through every specific action here, but I will highlight a few of the actions that the library will take to meet some of these objectives. So for example, in this priority, the library will refresh and regularly review the MOU with the city, strengthen succession planning for staff and board, invest in professional development, and develop a system-wide service model with clear criteria for different branch types based on local needs. Next slide, please. So then we have enhanced service. The library's value lies in how it touches people's lives. It connects residents with ideas, with opportunities, and each other, remaining relevant across generations and responsive to a growing diversity of needs and expectations. Enhancing service means focusing on patron experiences like inclusive programs, responsive collections, strong partnerships, and greater visibility. So we have 4 objectives under this priority. They are deliver lifelong and inclusive programming and service, embed the library as an integral partner in education, civic life, and community development, expand collections to reflect community identities and needs, and strengthen library visibility to drive increased engagement and use. And again, I'll highlight a few of the actions related to these objectives. Support digital literacy and tech support services, collaborate more with the city and other partners, especially around programming, expand the range and availability of materials, ensuring diversity of content, format, and languages, and strengthen marketing, outreach, and promotion to ensure the community is aware that about everything that's available to them through the library. And the next slide, please. Last but certainly not least, we have improve and expand service spaces. So spaces shape how residents experience their library. Welcoming, reliable, and adaptable facilities are central to the library's ability to meet community expectations, accommodate growth, and reinforce its role as a civic and community hub. Improving and expanding spaces means planning for population growth, it means ensuring every branch offers safe and inclusive amenities, and it means designing facilities that are flexible, sustainable, and reflective of local identity. So the 3 objectives in this priority are ensure facilities meet growing population and community needs, provide functional, adaptable, and sustainable spaces, create spaces that reflect local identity and celebrate the natural environment, And then a few of the actions related to these objectives: build a new central service and administrative hub branch to anchor the system, improve accessibility and flexibility of library spaces across the system and over time, and highlight the local character of branches across the system, ensuring that they reflect their local communities, histories, and natural settings. And with that, that concludes our summary of the Kawartha Lakes Public Library 10-year growth strategy. We'd like to thank you once again for your time.
Thank you. Let's see if we have any questions for you. But first, I'll get a motion to receive the deputation. Councillor Joyce and Councillor Doble. Councillor Joyce.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like the other councillors to go first if they have a question.
You're the only one on the list, right?
All right then. The question for CEO Anderson, these are questions I get asked, but CEO Anderson is better formed to answer these. When it comes to the central hub, kind of expand on that and how it will affect the current library in the main branch in Lindsay, please.
So currently, overall, throughout the city, we have about 39,000 square feet of library space. Rule of thumb, the baseline is 1 square foot per person, so we are about half of the square footage across the city. Lindsay is about the same. We are at 12,000 square feet right now with a population of 29,000 people, going up to 50,000. One of the options to kind of increase space is building a new branch, but that branch would also house the administrative services, which would be about 5,000 square feet. That would then free up more square footage in the current Lindsay Library branch, thus giving another 5,000 or 6,000 square feet to that building, as well as a new facility.
Thank you. And to that, 9 Russell Street might be available fairly soon. I don't know. Another question I get asked is equitable service delivery from our different branches, but equitable does not mean equal. Can you expand on that too?
One of the things that we're always trying to ensure is that if somebody goes into a library branch in Little Britain or in Kinmount, that they're getting a similar type of service that they're getting, say, in Lindsay or in Bobcaygeon or in Fenelon. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get the exact same books on the shelf. We're trying to tailor it as much as possible to that community's demands. So one community may, for example, want more mystery books on the shelf. Another community has a larger population of children, so they'll have a larger children's collection. But it also means tailoring the programs and events that happen in the branches as well. So other ways that we can look to expand service without having to have a full footprint of a branch would be, say, putting in a book return at Fulbert Pool, where we would be able to pick the books up. Busy parents taking the kids to the swimming pool, they don't have to make time to go to the library. So it's trying to get as much service out as possible, but it's not the same service throughout the city.
Thank you. I have one more, Mr. Mayor, through you, is we kind of just, in the presentation, kind of sped through that resource. It's not just space, it's also staff. It's both.
Correct. Yes.
We are really at the limit. If you can expand on that too, please.
Well, out of our 14 branches, 11 of them are single-person operations. So to do a story time in Kinmount, that means nobody can be personing the desk. So they can't check out books while they're doing a story time. To allow us to be able to expand our programming and actually have double staff in branches, even if it's only 3/4 of the time, would require probably an additional 10,000 hours of staff time per year for part-time staff. We currently have, I think, about 25,000 hours, so we'd be looking at adding another 50% staff time over the next several years as well.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Through you. Thank you, Jamie, and you've heard me say this many times that the library system has really grown under your leadership, and all the different programs. It's really heartening to see that. Just a question. My question was asked by Councillor Joyce about the hub. So when do you visualize, when do you see this happening? In 5 years? Because this is a 10-year study.
My hope is, well, the plan is to come back to council with firm recommendations. So those will be able to get into the long-term asset plan. Ideally, I would love a branch started to work tomorrow. It's not going to happen. I know that. They take a long time to plan. Most likely, we would need to have a feasibility study in there to decide where within Lindsay to put a branch. My guess is it would be at the end of the 10-year plan.
Okay. And so talking about staff, that seems to be something that really could be alleviated in the short term. So we could have more librarians helping out.
Yes. We don't want to have too many staff come on before we actually have the space for them or the programming for them to supply. But it would be something that we would be kind of building up over the next several years as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Just, you've heard it a couple of times today. Kudos to the library and, the collaboration you do with other people and the help. And certainly, wherever I go, the one thing people say to me is, oh, the libraries are wonderful. Staff is wonderful. So, let's be careful, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's make sure we don't do that. But I think also there is, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So we need that as well. But congratulations to you and to your group on the work you have done. And we look forward to this coming forward and where we're going in the future. So we have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. Thanks very much for your time today. Next up, we have the Ann Street and Front Street Sewage Pumping Station Upgrade Environmental Assessment Completion Presentation. We have Nafir Rahman and Rob Flindle and Vivek Sharma. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, through you, Mr. Mayor. The Servicing Master Plan study identified the need to upgrade the Ann Street and Front Street sewage pumping station upgrades to accommodate the forecasted growth within the community of Bobcaygeon at areas north of the Bobcaygeon River. City retained the consulting firm, Concept Dash, to undertake the municipal class environmental assessment study and detailed design for the proposed upgrades. The EAE study is now complete, and the study findings are documented in the project file report. Now I pass over to Vivek Sharma from consulting firm Concept Dash to provide a brief presentation on the study findings. Thank you. Vivek, please.
Thank you. Your Worship, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Councillors, and esteemed staff, I'm Vivek Sharma from Concept Dash. Rob Flindle could not make it. He is under the weather. I guess the weather is bad. It's 4-0. Did you see the score? 4-0.
Oh.
Not, sorry, 4-0. That's what it is. Sorry about that. So today we are discussing Ann Street, Front Street Sewage Pumping Station and force main upgrades. The real reason for the upgrade are basically two: upgrading it to bring it all infrastructure to the new level, and second is address the future growth. A PIC, or Public Information Center, was conducted on April 29th, 2025, and public comments were received. The Municipal Class B EA, or Environmental Assessment Project, was conducted. The project area is Front Street catchment and N Street catchment. The yellow lines are the ones that are force mains. Front Street SPS feeds into the N Street, and N Street goes all the way up to the wastewater treatment plant. In the Class EA process, we are on step 7, where we are preparing the final project file, as mentioned earlier. The issues identified, we have already covered that. Basically 2 things: aging infrastructure and addressing the growth. 4 options were studied for N Street and Front Street SPS. Obviously, the first one is do nothing, if that addresses the concern. Option number 2 that we had looked at is rehabilitate and upgrade existing system. If that is an option. Option 3 was maintain SPS and add a new building to address the additional loads. And the ultimate was, 4th option was construct a single system. Various options were looked in through the lens of technical, commercial, environmental, and other aspects. We can go over all those things, but to address these things just in nick of time, I think we'll just keep moving forward. Evaluation criteria were financial concerns, technical concerns, environmental concerns, social and cultural environment, and the compliance to various regulations. The options were scored based on all those elements, and overall, the option number 4, to construct a single new sewage pumping station that meets future flows, was chosen. It scored the highest on all the matrices. Same for Front Street. Option 2, to rehabilitate the existing SPS, was chosen. For force main alternatives, again, 4 options plus another one for N Street was chosen. One was to do nothing. The other option was to create a single new force main and abandon the existing one. Option number 3 we looked at was build new force main and rehabilitate the existing. Option 4 we looked at is a twin force main, build completely brand new twin force main and abandon existing. And option number 5, realign the existing force main. Again, through the same lenses, we looked at all the options. And evaluated against all those elements: commercial, technical, natural, environmental. Option number 4 was chosen on the Front Street, just upgrade to a larger force main size. Preferred option, just listing them out, on N Street SPS and N Street force main, the total cost we came up with is $9.5 million. A single new SPS, a brand new building, with a new 450 diameter force main. On the Front Street side, we are keeping the existing SPS, and the cost, total cost, just upgrading the pumps, and the force main is upgraded. The cost is $2.5 million. Those were all the findings that are part of the EA process. The file is complete, filed, and thank you for everybody's attention. Any questions for us? And obviously, Rob Flindall is not here. He's the project manager for the job from city side, Martin Leclerc.
Okay. Let's get a motion to receive the presentation. Councillor Warren, Councillor Perry. Councillor Warren, you have a question?
I do, through you. Was there any public input into some of your decisions? I know I was at the PIC, but it was not well attended, so I'm just wondering if there was any public input.
Major input was from you, councillors, so we did incorporate those.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you to you, Mr. Mayor. And I may have missed it, but I didn't see the slide deck sent to us in advance. It would have been great to go through. I've got the memo here, but can we get a copy of that slide deck after?
Certainly.
Okay.
And
We can get it for you.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to go through it. Thank you.
I had a question about the option for the Ann Street station. You say there's going to be temporary service interruption and an extended construction time. Could you elaborate on that, please?
So bottom line is, when we were switching over, the new building will be created, and after that there will be a temporary bypass that will be created, because we can't tell the residents not to use the services. So there'll be a temporary solution that will be part of the system.
Any idea how long that would be?
We are thinking just switch over for a day, and that should be sufficient, barring any weather condition preventing us.
And I'm assuming it's the highest capital cost because you're building a new building and it's all new materials.
Correct.
Yeah. But that with changing all the pumps and keeping the existing building was going to be less efficient or more costly in the long run?
So there are two elements to it. There's a wet well that we have to address because the flows are coming in, and the anticipated flows are almost 4 times the existing flows. That cannot be handled by the wet well. It's like a well, so that needs to be replaced as well. Building is not that expensive. I can get you all the numbers just for the building part of it. Its major cost is coming into digging and cutting into the rock and putting in a new wet well. That's where the major cost is. But we have a broken down cost analysis that we have shared, so we can certainly forward it as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much for coming today. Moving on in the agenda, we have a report, ENG 2026-001. Council, what's your wish? Did you want somebody to speak to the report? No? Okay, so anybody want to move it? Councillor McDonald? As printed? Seconder? Councillor Doble? Any comments or questions? Councillor Yeo, do you have a question?
No, I did not. No.
Thank you. All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on in the agenda, item 7.5 is childcare directed growth update presentation by Alison Truax. Ms. Truax, good to see you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Whenever you're ready.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. As you've likely heard, the Ministry of Education has a goal to create 86,000 new licensed childcare spaces across the province by the end of this year. Kawartha Lakes is supporting that goal by working to achieve the space creation targets assigned to us by the ministry. Today, we'll review our expansion goals that were set for us by the ministry and look at the guiding principles that have led our decision-making and how and where we should expand in Kawartha Lakes and the County of Haliburton. In our role as Consolidated Service System Manager for childcare, the city receives funding allocation from the ministry to support the operation of licensed childcare in Kawartha Lakes and Haliburton. The amount of funding is aligned with the number of spaces that we have in the area. In December of 2022, the ministry announced growth targets for service managers to fulfill by December of 2026. These spaces would be supported by additional funding. The ministry also required service managers to develop a directed growth plan in alignment with the ministry's access and inclusion framework, and the Kawartha Lakes growth plan was presented and received by this council in March of 2023. In Q2 of 2025, the Ministry of Education adjusted their expansion targets for municipal service managers by reallocating the spaces across the province. Shortly thereafter, they also asked us to update our directed growth plans. Expansion targets have changed a few times in the last couple of years. In the initial space allocation, Kawartha Lakes was provided with a combination of the County of Haliburton with 443 expansion spaces for licensed childcare for children aged 0 to 5. This would help us to reach towards, but not quite achieve, the 37% childcare access rate set by the province. Following the reallocation of spaces in March of last year, Kawartha Lakes and Haliburton were told we had 466 expansion spaces. In November of last year, the ministry updated their information by sharing how they calculated those spaces, and it actually turned out we had 448 spaces. As mentioned, any of our expansion must align with the ministry's access and inclusion framework. The framework requires service managers to identify priority neighborhoods according to socioeconomic factors, as you see on this slide. In 2023, we used 2021 census data to determine the socioeconomic conditions in various communities across Kawartha Lakes and Haliburton. And since we've not had updated census data, we use the same information to update 2025. Council received, as I said, the first version of this plan. There we go. In March of 2023. The plan detailed how the city would create the original 443 new licensed childcare spaces. It examined 8 neighborhoods, you can see with the 3-letter acronyms on that slide there, to determine the priority neighborhoods for expansion. We looked at a social risk index, the concentration of children aged 0 to 5 that was on our current wait list, and the current number of licensed childcare spaces existing in those neighborhoods. Here's a breakdown of how city staff determined at that time they would allocate those 443 spaces. Was noted at that time that not all areas would see that 37% childcare access ratio, just given the amount of investment in funding and space that would be required in some areas to reach that milestone. The ministry did direct service managers to focus on the priority neighborhoods themselves and not just the access rate. So while preparing to update our growth plan, we had a look at what some of the pitfalls maybe were with the first incarnation. First, I think said through many presentations today, our neighborhoods are really large and they're not commutable from one end to the other to access childcare. So we needed a more targeted approach. We also recognized the original analysis used childcare waitlist data as a determination of community need. It's flawed because in 2023, parents were not queued to update their online accounts and could linger on our wait list for months or years, even if they had already achieved childcare. In addition, following that report, it became public knowledge that our average wait time for childcare was over 6 years, and we have no doubt some families decided it was likely a futile effort to join the wait list. So to refresh the plan, we took a new approach and created maps using smaller census dissemination areas, showing the concentration of vulnerable populations in our area, and overlaid those maps with locations of current and future childcare to determine where vulnerable populations exist that are less well serviced with childcare spaces. In essence, we've created a bit of a heat map of those communities most in need of childcare with the fewest options to obtain it. The areas in most need, are in blue on the map here. They represent 17 specific communities within 6 of the 8 original priority neighborhoods. The priority neighborhoods on the list on this slide on the left are in order of furthest from the 37% access rate to the closest. The updated directed growth plan shows the impact of projects that have completed since 2023 and those that are in the works for 2026. Overall, should all of the existing and proposed projects complete this year, we will add 263 new licensed childcare spaces for children aged 0 to 5 in 2026. This will bring our total of new spaces since 2023 to 409. This will reflect 91% achievement of the ministry target. The 2026 growth projections rely on the approval of 2 proposed projects that will bring 98 or 67 net new spaces to our communities by the end of this year. All other expansion spaces totaling that 263 are currently in the works. As you can see, childcare access rates have improved in most communities across Kawartha Lakes and Haliburton. The HMA neighborhood is the Haliburton-Minden neighborhood. There's a bit of a data error that's happening in that data set where there are 31 childcare spaces that have not operated in that area since 2021 that we have removed in that 2026 bucket. So you're seeing a drop that's not quite as representative of the true state of events. You'll notice that Haliburton proper, which is HDH, as well as Lindsay proper, LEK, somewhat LWK, the West End, achieve that 37% and in fact surpass it. We'll look at why that is, why we've overachieved in those specific areas when we talk about the complexities of expansion. Overall, our forecasted access rate by the end of this year looks to be about 30%, up from 23% in 2023. While our mapping has identified specific communities where childcare is needed, the reality of getting projects off the ground is much more complicated. Beyond identifying appropriate communities, we also have to find physical space. In addition to building code, fire code, and bylaw, the Ministry of Education outlines their own specifications, including square footage of indoor space, outdoor space, offices, window square footage, staff rooms, and washrooms. Water quality standards are also strict and sometimes difficult to achieve, given our rural communities operating on wells instead of municipal water systems. While all of these requirements are for the well-being of staff and children, the cost of building or procuring appropriate space is very significant. Childcare sites also need to be accessible to families, close to home, close to commute routes. They have to be accessible to early childhood educators who are at the heart of their operation. With a critical shortage of educators across the province and really across Canada, The further we get away from our urban centers of Lindsay, Fenelon Falls, and Bobcaygeon, the harder it is to staff the centers that we'd like to grow. When we do find physical space, we frequently encounter zoning challenges. We don't have a lot of community use zoning in the city of Kawartha Lakes. And while our colleagues in development services are wonderful, it takes time to rezone. And we don't often have time before the ministry does reallocations of funding or spaces. Timelines have become a really critical piece of our expansion story. The initial space allocation provided to us in December of 2022, those 443 spaces, were backed up with funding for expansion in June of 2024. The funding, called Startup, was earmarked for non-capital expansion. Service managers advocated strongly for the need for capital funding, especially in rural Ontario, where commercial infrastructure just didn't exist to move childcare in. It wasn't until March 31st of last year, 18 months before the expansion deadline, that capital funding became available to service managers. Concurrently, with the release of capital funding last year, the ministry reallocated the expansion spaces. 8 months later in November, they provided details on how they did that work, and unfortunately, the clarifying memo shared with service managers detailed how most service managers had fewer spaces than they originally thought. Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton, for example, had 18 fewer spaces. The Ontario Municipal Social Services Association hosted a meeting in November with the ministry and service managers. At that meeting, the ministry indicated they would closely be watching the progression of service managers towards achieving their expansion goals. They also shared that they would reallocate spaces where they deemed necessary through 2026. When questioned as to how service managers could plan for growth when spaces could be removed, the ministry advised service managers to not begin any new projects until they could get a lay of the land across the province. In mid-December, we provided them an update on our current projects and our proposed projects. We can't move forward with the proposed projects even with our own funding, because if we don't have those expansion spaces, we also don't have operational funding in future years. Of additional concern are recent responses from the ministry about the December 31st deadline for expansion. The ministry has stated on several occasions that any projects that are not complete by December 31st, 2026 and operational will owe back any of their startup or capital funding. Most of our active expansion projects are due to complete in Q2, so we've got some buffer room, but we do have a large project with the Boys and Girls Club here in Lindsay that also has $2.2 million in capital funding attached. That is due for a Q3 completion. Getting a little too close for comfort. On February 2nd, the ministry informed service managers that reallocation decisions wouldn't be made available for a few more weeks. It's been a whirlwind, but we've also achieved some positive things in the last few years. We've added 146 brand new childcare spaces for children aged 0 to 5 since 2023. We've seen considerable growth in licensed home childcare. So licensed home childcare fits a really important niche within rural communities where there isn't critical mass to open a full childcare center. We've added 13 new home childcare providers since January 2023, doubling the licensed home childcare capacity in our sector. We're reducing average wait times slowly but surely, no longer at 6 years. Part of that's a data cleanup, but some of that is progress in building new childcare. And despite the frustrations of tight turnarounds, changing guideposts, a critical worker shortage, and an entirely new operational model in 2025, our partners in childcare still answer the phone when we call. And we absolutely couldn't achieve any of this without them. So where do we go from here? Well, at this time, we need commitment from the Ministry of Education around our space allocation and our funding. We can't move proposed projects forward, and it's hard to plan for the future. We also need assurances from the ministry that childcare operators and municipal service managers will be supported if expansion projects delay beyond December 31st, 2026. And we want to continue to have conversations about childcare expansion. We know 86,000 new spaces across the province is a lofty goal, but we also know it's not enough. So we still have need in our community, and we want to come up with creative and innovative ways to meet that need well beyond 2026. That's what I have for you today.
Thank you. We seem to have a bunch of questions. First, let's go motion to receive. Councillor Perry, Councillor Joyce, Councillor Richardson, Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks very much for the presentation. I think what we're probably seeing here is the mismatch between long-term planning responsibilities and the short-term funding certainty, which is creating a lot of angst. Clearly, the government is not being up forward with the CWEL funding, so we really have a hard time looking beyond 2026. Am I correct on that? So because of these limitations, is it fewer spaces are due because of the timeline to complete and create these spaces? Because you have to build, you have to provide the operation with staff, and you have to get the kids in place. Is that correct?
That's correct. So yeah, to complete projects for this year is really tightening things down in our ability to be innovative and creative, and those proposed projects that we have in the pipeline just are stuck. And so that is stopping us from achieving those goals when we have potential solutions.
So in essence, you've taken a very safe approach this year because you know that if you don't get all those factors in place, then we're not sure how these spaces are going to be funded. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. I know when I'm reviewing all the notes on this, I definitely recognize the importance of Council endorsing this direct growth plan because it needs to go to the Ministry of Education, but I will have a follow-up resolution in 2 weeks about proper advocating because it's making it very hard for a municipality to strategically move forward when you're handcuffed, and they need to think better by not providing these short timelines and coming at the end of the year, like you just expressed, that you're getting notification in November when it's hard. Like it's just comprehensively mind-boggling that, you know, we're asked to make these type of commitments, but they're not providing the supports for us to move forward. So I'll let the other councillors have their say, but I will provide a resolution that we can look at in 2 weeks.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Question, how can we help?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. Advocacy is a big piece of this. There's a lot of conversation happening right now to land on what the future of childcare funding looks like for 2027 and beyond. And we're at those tables and we're having those conversations, but we can't be the only ones. And we know that it's in your ward, it's in your community where the need is. And so the advocacy is a huge piece of making sure that the ministries are hearing this from all angles and at all tables, that it's not just resting with staff teams and service managers to come up with those solutions. But I also think in encouraging some of those broader conversations you're having in the community, as I said, we still want to plan for 2027 and beyond. And so the door is open for business, or at least conversation about it. And we certainly will have those conversations with the willing and see what we can do as things become formalized.
Councillor Perry.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you so much for all the helpful, if not daunting, information on something as important as childcare and vital here in our area. Of course, I have a question about the NEK area on your map, which includes, do you know them off by heart? Fenelon Falls, all right? it was striking that there are zero allocations coming up for that community, and then the growth projection is a flat line for the coming years. What do we need to do to make sure that there are, as Councillor Joyce was saying, not same, but equitable distributions of childcare spaces coming up in the future? Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. Fenelon Falls, so when I have the slide on the directed growth plan where the priority neighborhoods are listed as furthest from the ratio, they're all furthest from the ratio. And so while we have listed them in that order to provide some context, they're all important. Fenelon Falls is a community identified on that list, and it is a place that we'd like to see childcare expand. Again, it's all those same pieces around zoning, around buildings, around commercial real estate that can be used for childcare, and that fits the bill. Absolutely.
Right. So what I'm hearing is it's a matter of the formula that's being used, as you said, that considers a number of factors. Is
100%.
that correct? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, perhaps we can have another conversation how we can make sure that that hasn't got unintended consequences, where certain communities in Kawartha Lakes get a zero increase and a flat line projection of growth. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Faber, did you want to say something?
Yes, if I can. Sorry, I'm back to Councillor McDonald's question and building off Manager Truax's. The other piece to note here is the December 31st deadline, which is clearly articulated with this. But the other deadline, too, that we're running up against is the federal-provincial partnership on the Canada-wide early learning and childcare program. That's the $10 a day, and which is outlined in Manager Truax's report. So that is also to end December 31st, 2026. So we're not only running up against a capital deadline, we're running up against the operating deadline as well. So yet if we want to expand these spaces, we also don't know the operating component to actually be able to transfer the operating grants to our providers. So it's a catch-22 on both fronts. On an advocacy point of view, what can you do to help? I don't think it's just a federal component here. There's a provincial, there's a federal component around advocacy as well.
Councillor Warren.
Through you, maybe to Cheryl, is there any wiggle room with the timing at all? If we and other municipalities may be running into the same problems, so I'm just wondering if there is any wiggle room, and if there's not, whether a letter writing campaign from council would be probably what is needed.
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, the challenge we run into, I think, is the answer is no, if you ask the ministry, first of all, because we have on several occasions. The issue we're running into is exactly what Director Faber just spoke about, is the converging deadlines of the expansion and the operational funding. And the operational funding is tied, the ministry, to the federal government and their agreement, and that agreement expires. So the ministry is not looking to extend any deadlines when they also don't have commitments in their relationship with the other levels of government as to how they fund this going forward. So the answer has been firmly no at this point. But we'll take any of the support we can get.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. With the CAO and CAO Gary Dyke, we met with Minister Calandra at AMO last year, where Haliburton County had the opportunity for local daycares in houses to come on board. But because of the federal guidelines, which insist that if you have a daycare center, then you must have a commercial water system, whereas these houses in the rural areas probably just had filters that the family used. I mean, it was good enough for the family. But if you were running a daycare, you had to have a commercial system. And that was, the minimum price for that was about $15,000. So it wasn't worth it for them to open the daycare. Now, do you see that with what Calandra said at the time was that they hope to negotiate that with the province, which is coming about on December 31st of this year. Do you see any hope of that occurring?
Yeah, to you, Mr. Mayor. It's a very interesting conversation, one that continues. The legislation that governs that is the Safe Drinking Water Act, and childcare centers 100% fall into that jurisdiction. It is less clear how home childcare providers fall into that. The verbiage in that legislation can be argued, and so it is being argued. We are having conversations with our home childcare agencies, and they are noticing, it's public health who enforces that piece, it's not the Ministry of Education, and we are noticing a shift in how that's being enforced.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, did you want to do your follow-up on the report, or do you want to do it on the presentation? I think that it might be better on the report. Okay. So we have a motion to receive. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much for coming today and for your report. Moving on to the report. Does anybody need an overview or anything, or we good with it? So Councillor Richardson, would you like to move it? And seconder is Councillor McDonald. And do you want to do you're going to move it as printed, and your follow-up is?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Yes, I do want to move it as printed and then provide the following. That the City of Kawartha Lakes urge the provincial and federal governments provide timely confirmation of the Seawell funding and program parameters beyond 2026 to support effective municipal planning and service system management. That this resolution be circulated to the Minister of Education, the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Ontario Municipal Social Service Association, MPP Laurie Scott, MP Jamie Smale, and that these recommendations be brought forward to the Council for consideration at the regular Council meeting. And I did speak with Director Faber and Manager Truax regarding, I had actually put a memo together, and they just thought this would be better to handle it this way.
Cute. Did you want to speak to it anymore, or you're good?
No, I think we've had a really grounding presentation today, looking at the long-term childcare system and the short-term uncertainty with what's happening. And we really need to advocate to say, how do you expect the municipality to provide this type of service without having the backup? So basically that's it. Thanks.
Councillor McDonald, did you want to speak to it?
Now, just quickly, is that, as we heard today, we have a lot of challenges, and this cannot, this might help, so.
Okay. Council, any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's passed as amended. Moving on to consent matters. Motion that all the proposed recommendations shown in section 8.1 of the agenda be approved by the Committee of the Whole in the order that they appear on the agenda, sequentially numbered and forwarded to Council for consideration at the next regular Council meeting, save and accept item 8.1.5. I have a mover and seconder. Don't be shy. Councillor Doble, Councillor Joyce. All in favor? I know, it's been a long day. We'll get there. Councillor McDonald, 815 was your extraction.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think Rebecca's is going to be on Zoom here, but I just want to, with all these reports that we seen today, this is just another one
There's
that,
no questions.
that's okay. So as all these reports that we've seen today, I think this is another very important one. What a great report. And I want to thank everybody involved that made this happen. These were students that went door to door. What a great opportunity to talk to businesses, and what a great community builder. Just a couple highlights there. You know, you got 47% of the businesses surveyed plan on hiring in the future. 9% plan to expand. 51% of the business survey also have sites outside of our region. Just a few little things like that. And another important one, because I was at a business downtown, 25% of the third floor is vacant, 12% of the second floor is vacant. Lots of opportunities there. This is an excellent service that helps us meet the needs of those who we serve. Another part that this is really important is that as we go forward with our parking study, this report will help us lead with a parking study, because it talks about how many number of employees we have, part-time employees, seasonal employees, will definitely help highlight the need for more parking downtown. And that was one of the things. And if Rebecca's there, again, thank you, Rebecca. And I don't know if you want to add anything, but how do you think that this report will help our community, and why do you think it's important to collect this data?
Ms. Mustard?
Good afternoon. Well, through you, Mayor Elmsley, to the councillor, this is a report that we've been doing for quite a number of years, and we want other information to be able to give it back out to the community so the community can use it in a whole lot of different ways. For us as staff, it's an opportunity to understand what's going on in the business community in a really granular way and in different pockets of the community. We've been talking a lot today at this council meeting about the large geographic area, and the way that this survey is conducted it gives us a really good in the different areas of the city and what the dynamics of the local economy there are. So the information is helpful for us as staff as we're doing some economic development and business support planning. Can be helpful for our colleagues around service provision and what's going on in the non-residential side. Being a really partners across the community, and chambers of commerce, for example, or other community organizations are able to use this data as they're applying for grants and other programs that they're delivering to have some evidence-based planning. So thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to move the report?
Yeah, move as printed, yes. Yep.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Yeo, did you want to speak to it? Fine.
No, thank you.
All in favor? And that's passed. Moving on to item 9.1 is a memorandum regarding Sir Sandford Fleming College. Councillor Doble.
Thank you, Mayor. The intention of my memorandum is to, and I should state up front that this really is a partnership, this memorandum, with my colleague, Councillor McDonald. This Frost campus does exist in Ward 7, part of the old town of Lindsay, but the intention is to inform Council, Fleming College, and the provincial government that we are committed to supporting the long-term stability of the Frost campus as a vibrant contributor to the city of Kawartha Lakes. This fall, I have spent time at the college touring the facilities, engaging with faculty and staff, and broadening my understanding of their excellent programs, the continued demand for these programs through enrollment, but also from Canadian industry, the very high proportion of graduates obtaining meaningful and fulfilling employment opportunities immediately or often even before they graduate, but also to understand the future needs of our fast-growing community and province and the potential for expansion offerings at the college. Specialized niche programs such as our nationally recognized heavy equipment program, our drilling and blasting program, the only one of its kind in North America, not to mention the anticipated need for qualified skilled trades right here in Kawartha Lakes. We will be moving earth, building roads, infrastructure, commercial, industrial, institution, and residential development for the foreseeable future right here in Kawartha Lakes. And how great would it be for those skilled trades and employment opportunities to be obtained by way of our very own Frost campus. Meanwhile, at a higher level, the province is currently reviewing the funding model for colleges. This review is desperately needed, as the current funding model is under a severe financial strain, and it is vital to our community that the Frost campus remain and not suffer cuts to our existing programs. In the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Kawartha Lakes and Sir Sanford Fleming College, and I want to thank CAO Ron Taylor for providing that memorandum to me, it states clearly, the city shall advocate and support the college in grant and funding opportunities which are deemed to advance and support. And Mr. Mayor, next month I intend to bring a separate memorandum to advocate additional support and highlight the need for skilled trades training programs to be advanced and enhanced at the Frost campus. Would it not be appropriate to obtain support from both the provincial government through its Skilled Development Fund and the federal government's Canada Strong initiative committed to nation building, skilled trades, job creation, affordable housing? They're obvious sources that we should be accessing. Frost Campus stands as a historically significant institution that has contributed for more than 5 decades to the economic, educational, and social fabric of the city of Kawartha Lakes. Its role as a major employer, its nationally recognized academic excellence, and its alignment with Ontario's urgent workforce needs underscore its importance to both the community and our province. Given the documented financial pressures facing Ontario colleges and the ongoing review of the provincial funding formula, it is both timely and essential that the province take decisive action. Strengthening the post-secondary funding model will help safeguard local jobs, maintain high-quality programming, and ensure that the Frost campus continues to serve as a vital, sustainable, and growing driver of economic development and educational opportunity within the city.
Thank you. I assume, and Councillor McDonald, you're seconding that. Did you want to speak to it?
Yes, through you. Yeah, just a few things. I support this motion because it's very timely and important that we do everything we can do to ensure the long-term stability of the Frost campus. As Councillor Wilbur just said, the provincial model for the funding of Ontario College is under review right now, so this is very good timing. Already several Ontario community colleges campuses are closing and consolidating due to funding pressures, international student caps, program consolidation, many of these things. Algonquin College, for example, is closing in Perth campus and moving programs to Ottawa. We've got, Conestoga College closed 2 satellite campuses, moving into Brantford and Kitchener. Markham campuses, Seneca College, all these ones that are really in Muskoka will close by the summer of 2026. Programs will move to Barrie. Across the province, Colleges Ontario report over 600 programs that have been cut due to financial pressures from an outdated and inadequate funding model. At this point in time, we have not heard anything from Fleming College, but we do not want this to be the writing on the wall for the Frost campus, and it would be devastating to our community and damaging to our economy. So I support this motion for the Frost campus, Fleming College. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to make sure I speak in support of this motion as well, echoing the comments of Councillor McDonald and Councillor Dobel as mover and seconder. I've served as a governor on the Board of Governors of Fleming College, and Frost Campus for more than 50 years has been training skilled workers for the workforce throughout Ontario and for our community needs. It has unique, as was mentioned, and top programs in Canada right here in the city of Kawartha Lakes in Lindsay. Fleming just went from 31st to 17th in national research college rankings for their research stream, and also #1 in Canada for industry research income growth among medium-sized colleges. #1 for experiential learning, where students actually learn by doing. And number 1 in student satisfaction, which is key for polytechnical colleges. And so right now, as the province reviews this funding formula, as Councillor McDonald just mentioned, the colleges are warning us that without immediate support, programs will be lost and access will shrink. We know here that we have residents earning 10% below provincial salary averages and facing poverty rates up to 60% higher than the national average. We really can't afford to lose this educational anchor, this affordable means of education and skills development for our local young people, and this, yes, economic driver. Frost Campus doesn't just educate our young people, it employs our neighbors, right? It fills our rental housing. It supports and shops in our businesses in Lindsay, but throughout Kawartha Lakes, and really builds individuals' pathways to livelihoods and good paying jobs. And so we're not just moving this, having spoken to Councillor Doble, just to protect an institution for its own sake. It's really about protecting livelihood and opportunity if we're going to be a city of Kawartha Lakes that is really, in the namesake and the tagline, providing opportunity. So it's about ensuring that next generation of access to education and training, and what we haven't talked about yet, keeping our young people here. All of us are on this table for years, have been looking for ways and working for ways to keep our young people here without them having to leave home, maintain that community we have, that workforce capacity, and yes, growth. And so, I think the province really has to act now to strengthen college funding and support before we lose here in Lindsay, which took 5 decades for us to build up Fleming College Frost Campus. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I support Councillor Doble's memo. This issue was previously brought to our attention when Frost Campus decided to cut courses that affects our community. Our heavy equipment operators course and the 3-year ecosystems management course come to mind. I'll speak as a councillor and also chair of Kawartha Conservation. As chair of Kawartha Conservation, we wrote a letter to then president. In that letter, we stressed how these changes would affect our community, and this is a community college. Program suspensions include several programs from which Kawartha Conservation has benefited from, in addition to providing practical learning experiences for students in the journeys as environmental specialists. These programs that were cut also led to a qualified pool of candidates for our summer seasonal and full-time workforce not reaping those benefits. These programs, which we interacted with mostly include the Environmental Technician course, Ecosystems Management Technology 3-year course, Fish and Wildlife Technology 3-year course, Conservation Law, GIS application, and GIS cartographic programs. These cuts, are so important to our community that we need to move forward and really it's timing. This is the timing that they're looking at funding. So we have to be really forceful in our approach to keeping our community college a community college. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a mover and seconder for this memo. All in favor? And that passes. Moving on, item 9.2, Community Safety Zone and Traffic Control Review. Deputy Mayor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. And I will be brief, recognizing the last agenda item today. Just looking for support on the community safety zone and a traffic control review for Highway 35 and 7A, which does encompass the Manvers Depot, the Rolling Hills Public School, the Granby Public School, the Manvers Community Center. This area continues to experience significant safety concerns, including speeding, high traffic volumes, and challenging turning movements that affect motorists, school traffic, and pedestrians. I also want to note that I have been speaking with the MTO, and they also recognize that this area does have an increased safety issue, so I think this is a good time to move forward with a comprehensive review, and just looking for support today regarding. Thank you.
Councillor Perry, you seconding that?
I will, Mayor.
Yep. You want to speak to it?
Just in favor how key this is. This one should be a no-brainer. It's a public school crossing. We had a similar community safety zone in Long Beach Road in Ward 3. Enforcement, of course, is the second tricky partner of community safety zones in those very specific areas. And anything we can do these days to keep people safe on the roads, we should support. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? And that passes. That is our agenda for today. I get a motion to adjourn. Councillor Yeo, Councillor Doble. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you for all your input.